Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Gloucester Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of December 18th, 2025. This is a meeting, an in-person meeting here at Kairos Auditorium, but it's also available as a hybrid with a Zoom link. For the record, the Zoom meeting ID is 845-8096-8550. People that are on the Zoom can participate at any time too by raising their hand to be recognized when there's time for public input. First order of business, first I'll recognize in attendance myself, Joseph Parisi, on Zoom, Michael Nyman, Lauren Norton, Ronald Wilson, and Axel Ruiz. And I declare we have a quorum. Our first order of business, the approval of minutes of October 30th and November 13th of 2025. Want to entertain a motion?
I'd like to move that those be approved with the changes that were passed along.
Seconded.
Made and seconded, roll call.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Norton. Yes. Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Second item is the consent agenda. This is an approval for the chair to sign the following decisions: 128 Wheeler Street, 4 Youngs Road, 2 Deacon Farm Lane, 5 Wells Street, 63 Langsford Street, 19 Decatur Street, 31 Shore Road, and 64 Friend Street. I'll entertain a motion for that.
I move that the list just provided of decisions be approved for signature.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, roll call.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Norton. Yes. Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Okay, we have some continued applications. Our first continued application is the application of Joanne and Francis Clark for special permit of variance to construct an ADU at 28 High Street. On the record, we did receive updated drawings from you. Did you tell us about that and changes that were made?
She should give her
Need you
name
right
and
in.
address.
Turn it on.
Other people in the audience, the issue with the mic is if you're not right into it, speaking close, the people at home can't hear what you say.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. My name is Joanne Clark, and I live at 28 High Street. Last time I was here, I was petitioning the board to approve an ADU so that we could build at our residence for my son and his wife and their child. We went back to the architect with the suggestions that were presented to us here for the height, because it was too high. So we did exactly what was suggested. They took down the walls. And so the top part is now just a crawl space. And the height is now 24 feet?
23.
Oh, 20, just under 24 feet, I think. Yeah. And I think that was the only change that we did. It was my understanding that that was the only change that was required or requested.
As members recall, we had closed the public hearing. During the board discussion, there was unfavorable thoughts toward the height that was existing. And we had asked for them to revise the plans and come back. With that in mind, I'll go to, I guess, Ron.
So for the purposes of people who don't have the diagrams in front of us, the proposed height originally was 29 feet, 11 and 11/16 inches. And if I read this correctly now, it is now 23 feet and 15/16. So a good 5 foot.
Yeah, which puts it under the ADU maximum height. So, Michael, I know you had expressed some concerns at the last.
Yeah, I think I like it. I think it's a bona fide attic and not a potential living space up there. So,
That in mind, I would think we could, the suggestions that were made seem to have been adhered to. I think we could go to a motion. I don't
We don't need,
see any.
we don't need to
for-
reopen the hearing or
No.
anything like that.
No.
In that case, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request for a special permit and variance to convert, to add an ADU at 26 Holly Street. The applicants being Andrew and Jennifer Davis.
Um,
no, this is High Street.
That's not us, that's the
I
next
see.
people. And it's just a special.
My apologies, I'm reading off the wrong. So I will withdraw my motion because I don't have the right paper in front of me.
On the application of Joanne and Francis Clark for a special permit to construct an ADU at 28 High Street, under section 5.2.4. I move.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded for a special permit for an ADU. Roll call vote.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. So you've heard our vote is favorable. You'll receive a decision in the future with instructions what to do. Thank you for hearing what we said and modifying your plans.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck.
Okay, a second continued hearing is the application of Eric Kaplan for a special permit and variances to convert a two-family into a three-family home at 84 Washington Street. Again, this one was, thoughts were rendered, and we had asked to take another look, as the applicant asked to take another look at it, so we go to it. Name and address, please.
Great, thank you. For the record, my name is Bill Nolan from Savoy Nolan Architects. Our office is at 130 Liberty Street, Danvers, Mass. I'm here with my associate, Catherine Evans, and the owner, Eric Kaplan, here representing Eric Kaplan and his son-in-law, George Zortzis. So at our last meeting, we got a lot of good feedback from the board. And we made some adjustments based on that feedback. I submitted plans to you, but I'll kind of go through those now. And am I able to share my screen?
Be able to.
Can you hold that mic actually right up to your chin?
Yep.
You can disconnect it maybe and just hold it. However you want to do it.
I'm going to need my hands for the,
Okay, sure. Sorry.
ma'am. Join as panelist. Okay, bear with me here, sorry. Send request. Says someone else is sharing. love technology, right? There we go. Don't go too far. Okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry for that. Okay, so this is the original site. This is our proposed site. So some of the improvements that we made is we shrunk the building's footprint. Um, and we have this, which is indicated at this red line here. And one of the things that we did based on our conversation with the board last time is the safety thing was one of I think the strengths of what we were proposing in the addition of a sprinkler system. But we've taken it one step further and looked at now that the building has been fully demolished and we're going to be building a new building, we have a little bit more freedom with the volume and footprint. So we wanted to maintain at least 3 feet around the property line where the existing building was 4 inches. Our previous proposal was 12 inches. We've now bumped that up to a minimum of 3 feet around the property line as a way to provide access for maintenance and for fire. So we thought that that was a big improvement. We've also shrunk the building lengthwise from our previous proposal where we were proposing a rear setback of 6.5 feet, 6'5". Now we've bumped that up to 12'7". Okay. The green line indicates the building that was demolished. So you can see in this area here, the existing deck came to within, just under 2 feet from the right-hand property and probably about 8.5 feet from the rear setback. So we're improving all of those dimensions. And we're also removing, the shed has been removed, which is going to increase the open space. The units, so what we're proposing is a 3-unit building, and we've reduced the amount of bedrooms. We were asking originally for 3-bedroom units, and now we've reduced that to 3 2-bedroom units. And this is kind of a standard layout for the units. So there would be an entrance piece here, a staircase, a commonly shared staircase that would get you on the floors and down to the basement. Open concept living with a kitchen and living room, and then 2 bedrooms on this side with a single bathroom. Bedrooms are good size, 14 by 10 bedrooms. And then we are also proposing a deck off the back, 7 by 14 roughly, with an additional staircase down as a form of a means of egress and also privatized exterior space for the occupants. This would be the top unit where, and you'll see in the next drawings, we're proposing a mansard roof, which allowed us to take the height down from the building. It's a very similar layout, just filled in a little bit to allow for the mansard roof detail. But other than that, essentially the same layout. This is a computer model, and we tried our best to model the houses that are next to us, the house immediate to the right and immediate to the left. I do want to qualify this and say that we didn't gain access to the house, so this is just based off of pictures, and we did our best to replicate what's out there. But this is the new proposed design. I think one of the board members urged us to consider the mansard roof as a way to both keep the character of the existing house and the character of the street, but also a way to get the space on the 3rd floor without extending beyond the height limitation, which we've done. It was a great suggestion. So we brought back the mansard roof, which allows us to keep the house down and comply with the 30-foot height limitation. Our previous submission was asking for a 3'3" waiver to the height. In this latest round, we're not requiring any variance on or waiver on the roof height. And you can see it fits in context with the house to the right of it. And we even modeled the house to the back of it because the neighbor that lives there was at our last meeting and she voiced some concerns about what we were doing. So we wanted to give as much context as possible. And these are just the elevations, as you can see here. Sorry. The green line, it's not like in my, okay, the green line right here represents the existing building that we tore down. And obviously the image shows the new building. So this would be on the Washington Street facade. 2 floors, there would be a basement, and then, sorry, 3 floors. The top being the mansard roof, and then there would be a basement as well. This is the parking lot side or left if you're looking at it from the street. Sorry, right side. This would be the rear showing the decks. And then this is the parking lot side to the left if you're looking at it from the street. So I just did want to kind of go over the numbers real quickly, just to kind of bullet point it. So for the unit, the building, we have reduced the rear setback or increased the rear setback from our previous submission of 6'5" to 12'7". The side setback, the previous submission was 1 foot, and now we're looking at a 3-foot all sides minimum. The front was 10 inches, and we've increased that modestly to 2 feet, just a small increase. The building height, we've gone from 33 and 3 inches to maximum 30 feet to conform with the building, with the zoning bylaws. In the units, we've reduced the number of beds from 9, which was an increase of 4 from the existing building having 2 units, 1 2-bedroom unit and 1 3-bedroom unit for a total of 5 bedrooms. Our previous submission had a total of 9. Our current submission in front of you, we're asking for 6, broken up into 3 2-bedroom units. So a net increase of 1 from the existing building. And the unit square footage was also reduced as a way to accommodate the smaller footprint. So the proposed units in our original submission was 1,100 square feet, and we've reduced that to 800 square feet, or a net of minus of 300 square feet per unit. And then lastly, I won't try to take up too much more of your time. We also discussed going through the 6 things in the bylaw that the town is looking for, finding in support of the application. So number 1, social, economic, and community needs. The proposed conversion of the 2-family to 3-family dwelling provides a modest increase in housing opportunity with within the existing residential neighborhood. The 3 2-bedroom units are consistent with the current housing demand and can support continued residential use without altering the neighborhood character. Project also enhances the long-term viability of a locally owned and managed property, which I think is something that I did want to kind of highlight. This is going to help Eric and his son-in-law keep this in the family, and I think towns generally agree that keeping locally owned properties it should be incentivized. It's good that people owning these properties are living in the community, and that just helps the chance of keeping it building well maintained and in good standing. Number 2, traffic flow and safety. The existing structure contains 1 2-bedroom unit and 1 3-bedroom unit. The proposed configuration of 3 bedrooms, 3 two-bedroom units represents a minimal increase in occupancy and parking demand, requiring only one additional space beyond its existing conditions. The reliance on street parking is typical for this area, and the proposal is not expected to adversely affect traffic flow or public safety. The site's proximity to the public transportation mitigates vehicle impacts. So when you're looking at Gloucester, and Gloucester's not unique in its need for housing and its parking problems. Most towns, cities are facing that. Density is an issue that you're going to have to address at some point. This is the appropriate area, or one of the appropriate areas in Gloucester where increased density is good because of its location to the T, its location to the shopping centers. So you can live in a unit in this area and without a car and still survive. You can take the MBTA to Boston. If you work in Boston, you can do all your shopping in walking distance. So again, density in this part of Gloucester is, one of the areas that you should look to. Adequacy of utilities and parking service, public services. The project involves full reconstruction of the building, allowing all utilities and life safety systems to be installed in compliance with the current codes. The proposed relocation of the structure will provide a minimum 3-foot setback on each side, improving access and reducing potential fire impacts to the adjacent properties. Existing municipal infrastructure is adequate to support the proposed without an undue burden. And just the fact that this is a brand new building and required to meet the building code, the code mandates safe structures that are efficient. Number 4, neighborhood character and social structure. The proposed building will be consistent in scale, massing, and architectural character with the existing structure and surrounding neighborhood. The residential use and unit sizes are comparable to nearby properties and will not adversely affect the established social structure in the neighborhood. Number 5, natural environment. The proposal reduces the building footprint and removes an existing accessory structure, resulting in increased open space, improved light, and circulation between neighboring buildings. And finally, 6, the addition of a third dwelling unit will result in a modest increase of the assessed value and will have positive fiscal impact through continued residential uses. The additional resident will also be able to take part in local businesses. The increased density in there does add some benefit to local businesses. Lastly, I did a sun study because this was also brought up in the last meeting. I also want to qualify this to the software that we use to this. This isn't a meteorologist or anything like that. We use SketchUp, but it is a good tool that will give you basic characteristics of the sun pattern. We put in all the right data. So this is a realistic representation of the sun patterns. And we also looked at the existing building. So we modeled the existing building to the best of our abilities, and we modeled the proposed building. So we could kind of look at the variations between it. We looked at the 4 most aggressive sun days, the solstices and the equinox. And then we looked at 3 different times per day: morning, noon, and then early evening. So here's an example. So this is June 21st. And you can see, if you look at the white, this is the opposite of that is the shade in there. And you can see the shape here is very similar to the shape here. And this is at 5:15 a.m. Once you get to noontime, there's absolutely no cast shadows on the back of the house. And when you start to get to early evening, late afternoon, the shading is almost entirely on the street, has no impact on the house behind us, and virtually no impact on the house to the right of us. Looking at December, sun is at its lowest. You can see it's just very, here's the deep shadow right there. It's very similar over to here. When you get to noontime, it has no effect on the back house. And the effect on this house is very similar. You can see the main shadows on the cross street and on Washington Street are almost identical. And then once you get to evening, 3 p.m., at 5, it would be dark. The shadows are directly on Washington Street, so it has no impact on any of the adjacent buildings. And then March, and again, quickly go through it. There's a little bit of, this is the deck portion right here, and the decks will, at 7 a.m. In the summertime, cast a little bit of shadow that wasn't on the house on the back briefly, but by noontime, again, it's all gone away. And then lastly, this is September, so the autumn equinox. No change at all during the morning. I guess maybe very little bit in this corner right here, just a very little bit. So without belaboring this, the conclusions that we came up with is that it really is not changing the sun patterns on either of the two houses that are in concern by any measurable amount. Most of the day, most of the sun is actually on the street or on this building here, and that hasn't changed from the existing building. So I think that's the extent of our changes and extent of our presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
So to recap, so we're still, relief needed is the special permit to alter and expand a non-conforming structure, a change of use, and allow one less off-street parking space. You no longer need the exception for height, correct?
Correct. Thank you.
Any questions from the board at this point?
I just wanted to comment. I felt like, Mr. Nolan, that you listened extremely well. I just want to commend you for that. I personally think that, and it didn't have to be a mansard, but I think that that's what was there. And I think that for me personally, it just brings the building down and it gives it scale, even though it's still a pretty, decent sized building. And I just think it's 100% better for me personally. I think it just presents really well. I think it's going to scale really well. It looks similar, not exactly the same, but similar to the building that was there. And I feel like you listened well. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a great suggestion. So it was good collaboration.
Okay, so we had already closed the public hearing on this one and made suggestions of what we would like to see. I agree with Michael, pulling back away from the rear setback, open that up and digging that shed out, creates a little backyard and a little breathing room between the houses. Was much appreciated, so I think you've done what was asked. Anybody else want to comment on?
I would agree,
Okay.
unless you have a miracle way of, putting parking spaces in. I don't think you could have done more.
Agreed. Yep.
We got your print by email, but we need a hard copy for the file.
Okay, sure. I didn't send you, we did the sun study last minute. Is that would you want that as well?
Yeah, could be good to be in the folder.
Sure.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion on 84 Washington Street. Okay. Yeah, we'll allow a question.
No,
Oh, it's going to be further away from your house.
increase the setback, decrease.
Yeah, so it was going to be only like 8 foot or 7'5", and now it's going to be over 12 feet away from your fence. So he moved it back. Yeah, moved it away from you. Yeah,
Yeah, so you.
Good
I don't know if
improvement.
you can see the plan up there, but this line right here, That was the existing back deck. It's a lower story. I think it was only like a story and a half up, but that was about 8.5 feet off of your back property. We're proposing to push that back almost 5 feet, 4 feet away from your property. Yeah, I know. Push towards the street, the Washington Street.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
I just don't have the thing in front of me, so.
I'll do it.
2 feet back, yeah. The property is, from the Washington Street to back of your property is roughly 70 feet. 70. Yeah.
Okay, we'll have a motion. Go ahead.
I move on the application of Eric Kaplan for a special permit to alter and expand a non-conforming structure, special permit for the change in use from 2-family to 3-family, and a special permit on the parking, to allow a lesser number of spaces than the ordinance provides.
Second.
We have a motion made and
Yeah.
seconded.
Yeah, just with a note that that's also, part of that special permit to alter and expand is to tear down and rebuild expeditiously, 2.4.5.
Roll call.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes, to all three.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes, to all three.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. For a decision's favorable, we'll put a draft together.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good holiday.
Okay, our
Yeah,
last-
really good project, Mr. Nolan. Really good project.
Thank you.
Our last continued application was Harbor Light Community Partners for 256 Main Street. And as we had talked about at our last meeting of this unit, we were waiting for the feedback from third-party engineering inspectors, which was been completed. They're working with the city's engineering department to modify the plans to reflect everything that was recommended. So at this time, they feel they need a few more weeks to get their drawings completed, at which point I'm going to ask to continue this to January 29th, at which point we will have the final drawings with all the utility changes, and we will also review the waivers requested. And once that's in place, be ready to move ahead into February, when we will put together a decision and vote on that application so they can start building their 29 units. So I'm going to ask for continuance to January 29th on Harbor Light.
I'd like to move for a continuance to the January 29th meeting of the application by Harbor Light Community Partners.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to continue. Roll call.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. That's continued. We'll move into our
you.
our new applications for tonight. First is the application of Stanley Schuman seeking to modify the conditions of a previously granted special permit of variance at 46 Raleigh Shore. You're
Hey,
ready?
Joe, I think my only complaint with this, and I think maybe another one, is that we don't have the decision. So
It is part
I
of the
thought
application.
I thought it was our policy that when we're doing stuff like this, that we would have a copy of the decision. I thought that was part of the
It was in
application.
That is part of the application.
It should have been in the application.
I have a copy here if you need it.
It's the
Unless
last.
I missed it, I don't have it.
Sheets.
So we can proceed. That's just a quiet complaint out loud.
Michael, if you have
That's
the
it. Michael,
tablet
it's-
sheets, it should be the final in the set.
It's that folded page, Mike,
Oh,
near the end.
Yeah, right here.
Go ahead, Mr. Stillman.
yeah, I'm deceived. Okay, I didn't see it. Thank you.
Are you ready, sir?
Yes, I'm
Hmm?
waiting for you to give me the go-ahead.
I need your name and address for the record and then present.
Sure. Hello. My name is Richard Bernstein of 988 Washington Street here in Gloucester. I'm very pleased to represent the Schulman family with this application, the purpose of which is to remove the conditions placed on the original 1998 garage special approval. Specifically, the restrictions of not allowing running water or heat to be used within the structure. The removal of these restrictions is the first step required to allow for the design and planning of converting the existing loft space of the garage into a living area and sleeping suite for the expanding summer visits of family members and friends. It is the intent of this future project to supplement the existing 2 bedrooms of the main house for which I was the architect when constructed in 2002. This is to provide much needed additional sleeping and living room space for what has become a multi-generational home, especially in the summer here in Gloucester. Upon the board approving the granting of, and it's focused on and limited to the granting of the removal of these restrictions, then the planning and design will be able to continue towards a building permit application to convert the existing attic loft space now used for storage into a new family living area as we have described in the application. Thank you, and I now welcome any questions you might have.
What would the square footage of the new living space be?
Don't know exactly. The footprint is shown. If you want to put the site plan on, you can see that the garage
Probably 600 to 750 square feet, something like that.
like that. Yeah, sorry. That's
Well, I guess the question is, it almost seems like you're looking to do one step without telling us the real story. What are you going to do?
well. If you
I have no reason,
the plan is to take the existing storage space on the top floor above the Rowley Street garage and finish it to make it into a bedroom suite for Stanley's grandchildren and expand, because right now they have bunk beds in the lower level of their 2-bedroom house. So it's expanding the sleeping areas for the existing house and becomes an expansion of the house. In the
So
existing
no
loft space.
bathroom or, I mean,
Okay.
Adding a bathroom also. That's part of the application as described.
right, but we're not being really clear here yet. So
Okay, I'm sorry. If you put the photographs of the existing garage up, I mean, you
we
see them.
can't- No, we have our set.
the photographs? Okay.
So are you talking about this building?
That's the garage, yes.
And you're talking about only the dormer part, not not what I would call the second floor?
Absolutely, or the lower level. What it is a garage off of Raleigh Street. The land slopes down and there's a lower level garage space.
Oh, so not this garage. So
So-
this whole, what I would call the first floor then is the garage?
That's a garage from the
Only
first floor.
about being allowed to put some bedrooms up in the upper dorm.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I'm sorry, there was, if you look at the first picture of Raleigh Shore Drive, the existing loft space
I got you.
that's
So
used
up
for
here,
storage now. There is
the
no
house.
change to the building envelope.
Okay, I understand. better
And,
now.
and there would be, it's for the grandchildren. When I did the house, they were 7 years old. Now they're 27 and have friends and girlfriends and
So typically,
So-
and Michael would confirm, and myself, having done this for a long time, there was a point where the city didn't want to have two dwellings on one property, and that if they allowed bathrooms and sometimes kitchens, full baths into an accessory building, there was no way for the city to go back and check to see if people were now renting it out as an apartment and all that. So that was the idea behind those decisions. Now we're actually encouraging other uses, and what I was wondering is why wouldn't you be applying for an ADU
My thought exactly.
and do a whole unit there,
we've,
kitchen, the whole bit?
well, because they love their house and it's just a matter of a place to sleep. That they use the kitchen of the house and it's not their intention to create a separate unit, but it just supplements the existing 2 bedrooms of the house so that the lower level gym can go back to being a common area in the house. And specifically, it's just a bathroom and it'll be finished open space with screens and bunk beds, and their grandkids and friends and family will be using it. They did not specifically intend to have it as a separate unit. I completely understand the history of it. In 1996 is when I came to Gloucester. And this also is a multi-generational home, which expands the use and so it's a very good question, but it's it meets their needs just to create the space to sleep.
So if we waive the condition to allow water and whatnot up there, we would probably want to condition it, I guess, on a future application. If a future application came in, it would be from scratch, you know, because somebody some days may going to want to do an ADU.
Well, the way this family is running, this house will stay in the family for generations.
Yeah, that's what they all,
And I can relate to that personally.
Rockefeller said that too. We got to think about forever. So,
Well, absolutely, and I understand that, and it's a good point. I can represent their interests and their needs long-term, and they did not want to expand it beyond just an expanded living space and a bathroom for convenience.
Michael, what do you think? You were around then.
Yeah, no, I think we've changed. Been around forever. Getting too old. Yeah, I think our whole thinking has changed. We used to definitely not allow, water and sewer and bathrooms and stuff like that, in secondary buildings like this one. That's clearly not the way we're thinking anymore. So I don't see why we can't lift the restriction, and I think we can easily just put a condition. Doesn't sound like this gentleman is opposed, or the owners would be opposed to putting a condition that no rental unit is allowed there, and if they wanted such thing, they'd have to come back. So I don't see any reason to not give them a couple bedrooms and a bathroom up there. It sounds like that's exactly what they're going to do with it.
I'm thinking that too, Ron.
I was going to ask if perhaps just to make sure that we put a little speed bump out there that no kitchen.
Okay. Well, let's see if the public has anything to say.
There is no intention, so, but that's.
Sure.
reasonable. I was on that.
Is there anyone in the audience or at home which is to speak in favor of the application? Either please come forward, or if you're on your computer, hit your raise hand button. Anyone in favor?
There were some emails, I believe, sent to Tasha that were.
Yeah, we have in the record the support of Glenn Parker at 46.
Direct.
Okay, being
Director
none.
Buttering.
Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone in opposition? Being no one, close public testimony. I think what we'd be moving on is to allow an amendment to the conditions granted previously.
I can try to make that motion if you want.
I'll do it. I'll try.
Yeah, go right ahead, Lauren.
On the application of Stanley Schulman, 46 Raleigh Shore, moved to allow an amendment to the prior permit, the conditions to the July 30th, 1998 permit to allow for heat and hot water for bathroom only, and for bedrooms and bathroom usage, and on the condition that there be no kitchen and this will not be used as a rental unit.
Second to that motion.
Made and seconded, roll call vote.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Are our decisions favorable? Were you the attorney representing?
The architect,
Oh, the architect. Go ahead.
and actually, these are friends of mine now, since I designed their house in 2002.
All right, so I'll write a decision on that one. Thank you.
Thank you. very
Good
much.
luck.
Okay, our next application of Andrew and Jennifer Davis for special permit of variance to convert a single-family home into ADU at 26 Holly Street. This one seems back.
For the record, my name is Aiden Church. I'm an attorney with Seaside Legal Solutions, address 123 Main Street, Gloucester. Here tonight on behalf of Andrew and Jennifer Davis, who are over here in the front row, right to your right. I'm rejoining as a panelist, and we'll share my screen here in 1 second. All right, so we have a little bit of an unorthodox request here, but I do believe that with proper conditioning from the board that we do meet the spirit of the ADU ordinance. So we are requesting to permit the existing single-family house as an ADU contingent on the construction of a new single-family home and which will be the new principal dwelling, which will be in the rear of the lot. So we're in the R10 medium high density residential district. We're a fully conforming lot and it's a fully conforming single family structure. The applicants acquired the property in 2013. The lot itself is very large for the district. It's about 5.5 times what's required. Unfortunately, the lot does lack about 5 feet of frontage in order for it to conform for a pork chop division, which would essentially allow this by right. But so we are requesting to instead do it as an ADU. So the applicants need additional square footage in their primary living space to accommodate their family needs. They also think that in the future, that they will probably move in parents into the ADU, and in the meantime can rent that out to defray the cost of construction of the new home. So in terms of relief, we are going to request a special permit for an ADU. The existing structure does exceed the 900 square foot requirement, and it will be closer to the street than the existing, than the principal structure. Otherwise, provided that the relief is contingent on the construction of a new principal dwelling unit, we do meet all other ADU requirements. So here's just the base map and the aerial view of the lot. As you can see, it's where a lot of the neighborhood is very dense. This lot is very large relative to those lots. Here's just some views of the existing structure. You can see that it is relatively modest in size. Here's some views again. So here is the plan. As you can see, the new principal structure is not designed yet. Obviously, we want to make sure that we can get this relief through before undertaking that extensive design work. But there is space on the lot to utilize the existing driveway to access the proposed new structure, and while still accessing the current structure as well. Here are the floor plans. The architect has done a good job to calculate the habitable living area in the unit. Obviously, I'll get to the fact that habitable area is not the calculation that the board follows here, but it is a 1.5 story, Cape style house. Here's just the calculations, and the existing structure is, per the architect's calculations, 24 feet in height. So where we do meet and again, I'll get to this, but the principal structure setbacks, we do meet the height requirement as well. So in terms of the general requirements for ADUs, the owner-occupied requirement has been superseded, but obviously we do need to be an accessory structure. So we don't currently have a principal structure. As I mentioned, any relief should be contingent on the construction of a new principal structure. But we will comply with any short-term rental regulations. The structure obviously has the necessary amenities and available parking in the garage. It will be the only ADU on site and is currently compliant with state and building codes. In terms of the requirements for detached accessory buildings, so again, we're over the 900 square feet, but we do have 900 square feet of habitable space. We're going to meet the architectural integrity of the new principal structure, which will match the existing structure. And as I mentioned, because we meet the setbacks, we are 24 feet in height, so we comply with that requirement. But we will be closer than the principal structure, so we'll need relief for that. So in terms of the 900 square feet requirement, I know that we run into this a lot here. So the requirement, in my opinion, is ambiguous. So it's 900 square feet or 50% of the total habitable area of the principal unit. So it's 900 square feet of what? Where you have the entire footprint of the structure is 1,400 square feet. You can exclude the garage, which is unconditioned and not habitable, and get down to 1,050. And you can also exclude the unconditioned mudroom and get down to 700 square feet. If you're going to calculate it based on floor area, obviously we're well over that 900 square feet. But again, out of that floor area, only 900 square feet is habitable space. So obviously, I think that the board has been going with taking the entire footprint and using that as square footage. So I would say that we're probably 1,400 square feet in total square footage, which does exceed that 900 square feet under the ordinance. So in terms of the standard to be applied, just needs to meet the purposes of the ADU section and not have a detrimental impact on the neighborhood. So here we're providing an ADU in the R10. It's a diverse housing option that aligns with the existing residential character of the neighborhood and does conform with the neighborhood character wherein it already exists. And it is the lot in and of itself will still be less dense than the surrounding lots, as you could see from the aerial footage. So we're providing another housing unit to Gloucester's housing stock. Once, of course, the new home is constructed, and the ADU then would be open and available. And it's an economic manner for providing additional housing. And as I mentioned, the owners can rent it or move family in there as well. In terms of neighborhood impact, as I said, the lot is very large for the district. The two structures will essentially have the same characteristics as separate properties while upholding the requirements of the ADU ordinance. They can't split the ownership, anything like that. So it will still be accessory to that principal structure once the principal structure is constructed. We'll meet the architectural integrity of the new structure. Again, as I mentioned, it needs to be conditioned. Any relief needs to be conditioned on the construction of the new building. So the relatively small size of the existing house, I think, does make it suitable as an ADU use, and it will allow the applicants to construct a new structure that will adequately fit their needs, while the lot can accommodate both. Obviously, there are some potential alternatives here, but I don't think that they work for the applicant's needs. You can obviously just demolish the existing and build a structure that accommodates everything with an in-law suite, adequate parking and everything, but that's just uneconomical. You're demolishing a perfectly good house, and you're essentially have to move out of that house while the construction process goes on. They could add just an addition to the existing house, but it wouldn't provide that separate unit for in-laws, family, or rentals. Obviously, they could also build an ADU that's accessory to the existing house. That wouldn't necessarily solve their current situation where they need expanded living space anyways. And finally, they could construct an ADU that's accessory to the existing house and expand the existing house as well. But, that's just additional work, whereas it's a construction project on both structures, where the current proposal just utilizes an existing house and allows them to construct the new house while staying in the existing house. So this option, I think, works best for the applicants, and I do think that it does meet the spirit of the ADU law once that principal structure is constructed. So again, we're just looking for a special permit to exceed the 900 square feet and be located in front of the proposed principal structure. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you seriously think this is the intent of the ADU ordinance? You kind
Uh,
of got the cart before the horse here.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously there's no principal structure existing right now, but
That's step one. You got to have a principal structure to have an ADU.
they can't construct a
Have one.
principal structure. They would be in violation of zoning where they would have two principal structures. So if we can get the relief that's contingent on the construction of a new principal structure, then we don't violate any zoning ordinance at all. And the ADU is in place once the primary structure is built.
Right. And it's violating every aspect of it. Closer to the street, bigger, you want 60% more square footage than is allowed. I mean, I think you're asking for an awful lot here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead, Michael.
I don't know if this is time to comment or wait for other people. My concern, I'm home, so and I did this earlier. I'm just surfing the map, and 28 is very similar to 26. Same, in fact, a lot. I don't know exactly the size of the lot. I think it might even be bigger. But when I go down Holly Street, there's other 40 is a lot of the same size. The house doesn't look that big to me. 41 is very similar. And I just keep going. I haven't stopped yet. I mean, you just keep going down Holly Street. There's some very large lots down there. And my concern, and no, technically we're not a precedent setting board, but to me, there's a moral imperative always that if we did it for 26, to me, there's no possible reason why morally you wouldn't have to do it for 28. And also for some of these other lots. So I just feel like we're setting a precedent for Holly Street that I have no interest in embarking on personally.
And if you recall, the zoning on the other side of Holly Street, further up the hill, is the new 40,000 square foot. As you remember, we did McGraws and we had to waive like 50% of land area because they just don't have it. But yeah, when I read this, I says, I just don't get this application at all. It doesn't seem to grasp the intent of the ADU ordinance. I mean, you've got a piece of property, build a bigger house in the front and an ADU in the back. Doesn't seem like they want that.
Yep.
That's what the ordinance was written as. They could follow the state rules and they're even more restrictive. But the only way it can be bigger is if we grant a variance to that. And I don't know.
And it seems as, I mean, this is a proper house with a garage. It's not at all what the statute was intended, in my view, and well over the, it's a maximum of 900 square feet, or 50% of the habitable area of the main house. So it just seems inconsistent with the intent of the statute.
I agree.
Yeah, I think you're quietly allowing you're allowing the new construction of a second principal building on a lot. And I feel like we have not been doing that ever. We've been fighting that forever. I just feel like this is a backdoor. I know it's advantageous to the landowner. I personally don't think that we should be doing this as a board. So,
Mr. Chair, if I may, as Mr. Nyman said, I know that the board is not a precedent-setting board, but I have personally permitted bigger accessory dwelling units in front yards on smaller lots. I do think that where we're talking about the intent of the ADU ordinance is to provide additional housing that is accessory to a principal structure. So whereas this will stay an accessory use, it will stay, they intend to actually be an owner-occupied, primary structure, utilize it for family use. I mean, I understand the board's concerns about backdoor permitting of two principal structures, but that is essentially what an ADU is, except for the fact that it's accessory to the principal structure.
Which is
So-
the whole name accessory.
Right.
Means it's an accessory dwelling unit to a principal structure. What's there now is a full-size home that 50% of the people in Gloucester live in, no bigger. Okay? Very adequate home. The idea of the ordinance was to take garages and shed areas or space that might be available in the backyard and allow people to build these small units to add housing. It wasn't to take a house that's a full house, garages, the whole bit, and say, oh, we're going to call this the accessory dwelling unit first. I don't know what it's an accessory to. And I just don't, I can't go along.
But where
Not
the
even-
intent is to provide additional housing, this accomplishes that intent while preserving a house and meeting, the needs of the applicants. I recognize the board's disfavor, but I do believe that, this does align with the intent of providing additional housing.
Okay, well, I don't. Any other questions, or we'll take public testimony?
yeah, I'm good for now.
Okay, anyone in the public wishing to speak in favor of the application, please come forward. Remind everyone your name and address for the record first, and then state your thoughts. And if you're online, you hit your raise hand button to come up and speak. Anyone in favor? Pardon me? You can come up and speak in favor. You have representation for your presentation.
So I'm Jennifer Davis of 26 Holly Street.
And I'm Andrew Davis. Thank you
Speak
so
right in the
much.
mic for me, please. Yep.
Thank you very much for your time tonight. We realize the creative nature of this request in an effort to build a house that we would really want to move our family into and provide additional housing. So that's kind of the spirit of this creative idea.
Yeah, we have aging parents and an elderly aunt who has no other family other than us. And so we're looking to expand our home in the back. We enjoy the back of our property. As you can see, it's a lot of land. We abut the Goose Cove Reservation, so we enjoy that a lot. So putting an ADU behind us with renters is not something that, we want to do. We've explored the pork chop lot, but we have a 5-foot variance, as we said. So just wanted to give you the additional context of why this creative solution made the most sense for our family.
Had your legal representatives consider applying for a variance for the pork chop lot frontage?
We did discuss that, yes.
No, you did?
We did discuss that,
Okay.
yeah.
And what was the negative on that?
That the board might not be favorable to a variance without the geographical need. I forget exactly.
Want to lot that?
Right in the mic for me, please.
Sorry?
Yeah, sure.
Just speak right into the
Thank you
mic,
again.
please.
So, Mr. Chair,
Excuse me, we're in public testimony right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the application? We have one hand up.
Hi, I would like to speak in favor of that project because I think.
Can you give your name and address, please?
Yeah, pardon. My name is Saltanat Bertikeva, 33 Middle Street, Gloucester. ADUs is something that the state and city of Gloucester has embraced. I think that this project would not necessarily harm anybody. And I just find it interesting the fact that this board is talking about setting a precedent and some kind of issues, given the fact that you have approved prior projects that are actually encroaching and harmful. And I think that you have to be either consistent or help, the homeowner just said that she is considering it for, for her parents. Why not help them? So I think that if you're going to really promote housing and homeowners, increase homeownership in this city, then I think you should be able to look into this kind of creative projects. And if you're going to talk about encroachment, I think we have plenty of examples of ZBA approving quite egregious projects in this town, and we can start listing them. So I think either you should be consistent or actually help actual homeowners, not just big developers with big, deep pockets, and allow them to build what they would like to build. It's not, they have plenty of space, it looks like, and it's not harming anybody. So that's my take on that. So I suggest that you should consider approving this, not just downright chopping it off.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Mike Nosella, 7 Autumn Lane. I abut this property. I don't have an issue with what they want to do. I just have an issue with a set of plans on where the house goes later. I think it's just a little more information would be better. This is certainly a big enough piece of property. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor? Seeing none. Anyone in opposition to the project application? Any opposition?
Good evening. Barry Clifford, 3 Carrigan Court in Gloucester. For context, my entire rear property line abuts the subject property. I am here in opposition of the application. My opposition is not about me being disgruntled or a not in my backyard attitude. In fact, I consider the applicants friends, and it makes me uncomfortable to be here tonight. Nonetheless, this ADU application is nothing more than an attempt to circumvent existing Gloucester zoning ordinance and would violate Mass ADU law. And the end result would have detrimental effects on surrounding property values as compromising neighboring home views and aesthetic values. The applicants are attempting to convert an existing 1,400 square foot single-family residence into a detached ADU contingent upon the construction of a new principal residence. As stated in the application, the desired end result is the construction of a new principal residence while preserving the 1,400 square foot structure. The applicants investigated subdividing the property to achieve the end goal of having 2 single-family homes on this lot, but the lot was found to be non-conforming to GZO. Because they cannot subdivide and because they are reluctant to rehab the existing structure, they are attempting to circumvent the GZO by converting the 1,400-foot structure to a non-conforming ADU. The ADU application is nothing more than an end around of GZO. Further, the existing structure violates numerous ADU requirements. It simply doesn't qualify as an ADU. Both Mass state law and Gloucester zoning ordinance dictate that ADUs be maximum of 900 square feet, or 50% of the total habitable space of the principal dwelling, whichever is less. The existing structure being proposed for an ADU is 1,400 square feet. That's 55% larger than the maximum allowable size. The applicants attempt to declare GZO as ambiguous as to whether the 900 square foot standard refers to the entirety of the structure or the habitable area is a vain attempt to introduce uncertainty. GZO is not ambiguous. Mass state law is not ambiguous. Both clearly state that ADUs shall be a maximum of 900 square feet. No ambiguity. Contrary to statements in the application, the ZBA should not grant a special permit for this ADU that does not meet ADU standard requirements under the pretense that this proposal meets the purposes of section 5.24 of the GZO. The overcrowding of 2 single-family homes on this non-conforming lot would indeed compromise the home values of the neighborhood and it would have detrimental impact on the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Nobody online? Seeing none, we'll close public testimony. Allow rebuttal.
So, Mr. Chair, I think, something the tea leaves here, I think that we'll request to continue this out until the second meeting in January, and we can consider some of the other, options that exist before us. We'd like to preserve the application for now to potentially supplement it or change plans. So we would like to request to continue rather than voting on it tonight.
Does anybody on the board think about that? We don't have to continue.
We typically allow it. I'd be surprised for me personally if my mind would be changed on this. I'm definitely a no vote on this current application. I think you are as well, Joe. So, but we typically gracious and allow continuations like this. So that's up to you, but I'm okay with it.
The only issue is we have packed agendas for the next, definitely for both meetings in January. Even by law, we can't take another, by our bylaws, we can't hear more cases. It would have to go to February, and we'd need a waiver signed for the time limits.
So again, I don't have a problem with that if he's willing to do that.
It's acceptable on our end.
So we would need February 12th.
I just have a question, and what does that get you, the withdrawing your application at this point and reapplying?
Well, the application fee for one thing, but, and a spot on a future agenda without having to submit a new application rather than just potentially submitting new plans.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, if they went in a different direction to, say, seek a division of the lot or something like that, would that require a new
That would have to be a-
application?
That would have to be a complete new application.
Yeah,
They would have to be
I'm,
coming in under the same pretext of requesting a special permit under the ADU ordinance and changing their ask, I guess.
yeah, I guess I would say this is a pretty much a dead subject to me, but I agree. We are usually very cooperative and compliant, so I would vote to continue it, but I think it's a pointless exercise.
Mr. Chair, we will request withdrawal without prejudice, just so that you don't vote no on a potentially an ADU special permit that would jeopardize a future ADU special permit.
Okay. Just for reference, I mean, without even knowing what was going to be built, it's a little, I mean, what are we supposed to, if we were going to go along with this, would we be conditioning what size house would be built? You have nothing before us, because I'm sure the neighbors are going to want to know. I mean, you could stick to the setbacks and build a 20,000 square foot house back there, and I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't like that. So without us even knowing what you were going to build, that was part of the dead end for me. I got nothing to reference the size off of. I got nothing to, none of the requirements that we have, but, and so people realize too, the state regulations, there's no opportunity for variances or special permits with the state bylaws. Those, you have to build them strictly to the 900 and follow all those rules. In Gloucester, we adopted it ahead of that. So there is this way to build a little differently, but, so I guess if you came back and with a smaller, taking a bunch of that front house down and give us some details of what you want to build in the back, that might be a new starter, but I don't know. I can't speak for everybody. So yeah, we'll entertain a motion to allow withdrawal without prejudice.
I would like to make a motion that the application of Andrew and Jennifer Davis at 26 Holly Street be allowed to withdraw without prejudice.
Second.
Been made and seconded, roll call vote.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Okay, we're withdrawn without prejudice. The next application is of AYG Investments, Boston LLC, for special permit of variance to demolish and reconstruct a single-family home at 2 Great Hill Road.
Good evening, Attorney Sal Frontiero, 46 Middle Street for the petitioner. This site is located in West Gloucester in the Great Hill Road section. It's in the R40 zoning district. The site is non-conforming as to lot area, but it does comply with lot frontage and lot frontage width. The structure is non-conforming as to front yard setback only. Anyway, the petitioner purchased a property recently and wishes to tear it down and build a brand new structure there. As you probably saw by a site visit, and the structure that's there is really, really dilapidated. And it is not even habitable at this point. It's an eyesore to the neighborhood. And so we're seeking a special permit to tear down and rebuild. I'm not sure we need to see everything on the overhead. I'm happy to do that if you'd like. But basically, we're taking an old house that is not fit, not safe, replacing it with a new structure, a modestly sized new structure on the same exact footprint, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. So again, we're not doing anything too elaborate. It might take up a little more bulk as far as within the building cube. And for the special permit under section 2.3, 2.4.3 and 2.4.4, considering whether to grant a special permit to alter and expand a non-conforming structure, single or 2-family structure, First, the board must determine whether the proposed alteration or expansion increases the non-conforming nature of the site. If it doesn't, no special permit is necessary. If it does, then you go to the second tier of the test and whether the proposed new construction is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. So the new home would only result in a 10% lot coverage, whereas 25% is allowed. And although that's the case and it's on the same footprint, I would submit that this board's policy, I believe, is that any increase in sort of bulk on an already undersized lot, I believe that this board views that as increasing the non-conforming nature of the site. So for that reason, I will go on to the second prong of the test. Again, we're getting rid of a dilapidated structure. It's going to be brand new. It's going to be better for the neighborhood, I would submit. And brand new septic system, same footprint. I would argue this may be one of the rare cases where we're actually benefiting the neighborhood by doing this. You're getting rid of a dilapidated building and replacing it with something modern. And I think size-wise, even though the lot is very undersized, it's barely a quarter of the required lot size. I think the house in its modest size that's going to be built there does fit in. It's still only at a 10% lot percentage. So I think for those reasons that the special permit should issue, I do think this is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. As a matter of fact, I think it'd probably be better for the neighborhood as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions up front?
I don't know if this is the chair, but why don't we have anything filled out on Form 001 on the dimensional requirements? Because clearly they need something on they're asking for area, lot area.
So, this is a pre-existing non-conforming lot. They're going back on the footprint. So it's just a special permit to alter and expand. And then there's the caveat of demolish and replace in a reasonable amount of time. So it's a one-step special permit. There'd be no
And
other.
that form is irrelevant in this case.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I've been asking for them to always be filled out, just so we could look for things, but they typically don't get filled out in those.
Just to be clear, there are no new nonconformities being created.
Yep.
Nor are there any magnification of existing nonconformities.
And the bulk is just straightening the.
Yeah, I think the cube, there's probably a little more bulk, which is why I would say on an undersized lot, you probably do need to go to the second prong of the test and look at whether it is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's consistent with how we've ruled in the past. And so, yeah, we'll be taking it up as that special permit. Why don't we go to testimony? Is anyone in the audience or at home in favor of the application? Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward. Or raise your hand. Yeah, no, that's okay. Any opposition to the application? Anyone wishing to speak against the application? Being none, we'll close public testimony. No need for rebuttal. Discussion by the board, I would just say that, yeah, this is definitely a nice improvement, taking down an old dilapidated house, putting something back without any big asks of expansion or whatever. It is we do consider it an increase in nonconformity. So we will entertain it as a special permit to all demolish and replace with all those guidelines that go with it. That being said, we'll entertain a motion.
I can make a motion if you want.
Thank you, Mike.
Application of AYG Investments, BOS LLC for a special permit to alter and expand non-conforming structure, demolish and reconstruct a single-family home at 2 Great Hill Road. Yes, I would agree with Sal, Attorney Frontiero, that this is clearly an improvement to the neighborhood on this particular lot. And I think it is consistent with us that when bulk is added in a non-conforming situation like this, that we consider a special permit needed. So I'd move approval of the special permit to tear down and reconstruct.
Second.
I'll do this for you.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call vote.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. For our decision, we'd appreciate a draft.
Be happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next application is the application of Brian and Mark Pollard for special permit of variance to convert a two-family to a multifamily with 6 units at 35, 37, and 37 rear Sergeant Street. Bernie Pavaz.
Good evening. The switch was in the clip. Good evening. I'm going to share my screen in a moment. While I get that going, for the record, my name is Joel Favaza. I'm an attorney at Seaside Legal Solutions with an address of 123 Main Street here in Gloucester. I am here on behalf of Brian Pollard and Mark Pollard, the owners of 35, 37, and 37R Sergeant Street. And as the chair pointed out, the proposed work is to add an addition to an existing two-family structure and add 4 units in that addition. So we are 3 lots that for zoning purposes have merged. They were in common ownership back in 2015. And although they're separately owned by deed right now, we're pretty sure that the merger doctrine merged them in 2015. So we consider them 1 lot for zoning purposes. We are a corner lot in the high density residential district. Any change of use requires dimensional relief, and we're asking for special permits also for the existing nonconformities just to be safe. The actual use permit is the jurisdiction of the city council, along with a few other pieces, lot area per dwelling unit, open space, that sort of thing. That's all city council. But to get there, we have to go through the zoning board first and get the initial round of relief. So this just shows you again the existing two-family. It's kind of jammed in the back. Would be the southeastern corner of the combined 3 lots, and that's a picture of it taken with your back to the old Linsky's junkyard. This is the pile of relief. Again, this is one of those situations where you'll see that some of the variances are just for the existing house that'll remain where it is. Some are for new nonconformities. And that's because as you go into the multifamily table, even in the R5, all of a sudden you need really big setbacks, ton of lot area. It just gets very prohibitive in the R5 to go ahead and get anything up over 3. Per usual, I have all the plans that were submitted. We can come back to these as needed. This is just a zoom in of the site plan. Architectural plans showing the units. This is the elevations showing the additional mass, and then we have the existing plans. And this is just a GIS aerial of the property in question in context of the neighborhood. And again, the existing house. These are also some renderings. These were not ready at the time of applications. These are the first time you're seeing these. In this photo, what I call in the foreground is the addition, in the rear is the existing house rehabilitated. In this one, on the left-hand side, the existing house rehabilitated, and then you'd have the larger addition on the right-hand side, and then you see the new compliant parking lot being constructed. This is the building in context of the neighborhood. This would be at the corner of Cleveland. It's a drone shot, obviously, and this captures Millet Street and the storage facility behind it, captures the house immediately to the right, and you can actually see in the lower right-hand corner, that's the second nearest house on the same side of the street as this proposal. This would be, again, if your back is to Linsky's and you're looking at the house, again, on the left-hand side would be the existing house, and everything to the right would be the additional 4 units being added. And again, it shows you the compliant parking lot. And this would be if you're standing, so you put your drone down, now you're standing sort of at the corner of Cleveland and Sargent. Again, looking, you can sort of see in the very rear right of this photo would be where the existing house is, and everything you see up here in the street is the new addition. So in order to do that, like I said, we need some variances. The standard here is that literal enforcement would create a hardship for the owner. So as it is, even the two-family that's there is fully non-compliant. It's too close to the property lines. So you can even maintain what you have there. And then if you don't allow any relief on the other stuff, you're really limited to a 3-family to the size of the merged lots. And it's not economical. As I should have mentioned, is that you'll see here, but the hardship, the structure itself is at least 100 years old. It's on a stone foundation, dirt crawl space. It needs work. It's kind of at the end of its life as a safe apartment or two-unit apartment building. And so at this point, given the amount of money that has to be expended, my client is looking to go, okay, well, I'm going to be putting all this money into this property. The way the return works and the way you can actually address some of the issues that we have in the community is I've got room to add units, and the idea is to add those units. And then you have to make sure that if you do grant the relief, this project can't harm the public good or nullify the intent of the GZO. Again, your relief tonight doesn't authorize the use per se. This goes to City Council, but obviously the intention is to eventually have this use. And so we can kind of talk about the fact that this is again, in the high density residential district. This is actually in the TOD. We're not using the TOD provisions because, by happenstance, the TOD provisions actually make things harder sometimes. And this is actually an easier project under the traditional zoning. And you'll see there's many multifamily commercial uses in the neighborhood. So this is not going to be some standout, overly dense, overly large project. And just to give you an idea, this is zoomed out. So the parcel with the star is what we're talking about. And then we did a quick look, and there's a bunch of 3s and at least a 4 up on Millet Street. And you can see how small all those lots are up on Millet, Summit, Forest, et cetera. If I had panned out further right, you'd see even more 3s going that way. But then you go left and start heading down Cleveland Street. You've got a 6 on the corner of Arthur Street. You've got an 8 down Arthur Street. You've got a 16 down Arthur Street. Go down to Cleveland Place, you'll find a 4 and a 32. And then we have the Willowwood Park, which is 60. You've got the Mill, which is 70 units. And then actually the very end of Cleveland Street, the very end on the corner of Maplewood and Cleveland, is a 10 unit. And that's actually owned by this applicant. That's his 10-unit apartment building. And I would submit that what we're proposing here is, in all likelihood, with the exception of maybe Willowwood Park, I bet they have correct parking. I don't know that you could even build the Mill today with the current parking requirements, but we would actually comply with that. I bet the 8 and the 16 are pretty close also. The 8's probably got more than enough room. But again, lots of 3s on very small lots, and then many lots with much higher numbers than 6. And again, the 1-6 we did find was right, 1 block away on a corner lot, smaller, less parking. And the other permit we need is a height permit. And this is, again, just for the existing structure. The proposed addition is not, quote unquote, too tall. The proposed addition meets the 30-foot height limit, but we don't want to have to, again, the idea here is to reuse as much of the existing building as we can. We'd rather not have to pull the roof down by a foot just to get under 30 feet. So we're asking for a height permit for the existing roof line of the existing building. Nothing would be too tall on the addition. And when you look at the standard, this picture is helpful because it shows you the shadows, which way they're cast. And so you can see that this is, you can actually see the house across the street throwing a shadow onto this property, and you can kind of glean where this property would throw. So I can actually superimpose the building in. And so the shadow that the addition is going to throw onto its own parking lot and potentially out into toward Linsky's. And I will note in a moment that the property owner immediately behind this, the only one who might also catch some shadowing, has written in favor of this. And conversely, the property to the south that has written in opposition, being to the south, will not receive any shadowing from this structure as the sun passes through the southern sky and casts shadows north. And everything on Millet Street, obviously, it's much higher elevation in addition. And so again, just to kind of show you, so this is where the shadows would head. It's out toward the old Linsky's junkyard. And while we're out here on the street, I thought it would make sense to just kind of, again, give you a little more neighborhood context. I assume you all went by and looked at it. You may be familiar with the neighborhood anyway. But this is right across the street. And I'll point out that this building is about only 10 feet shorter, narrower than what is proposed to be built along Sergeant Street for this addition. So I think that house is 57 feet wide. The addition would be 67 feet wide as measured from Sergeant Street. So, you know, it's not something that you would never see out here on Sergeant Street. And in fact, if you then head down, you'll see, again, the immediate neighbor's house is pushed quite far back toward Millet. The next two are on the left. They're right up to the street. And then we have, obviously on the right, the former Gloucester Engineering Building that you can go, you know, almost all the way down to their parking lot with solid concrete wall right up on the sidewalk. You can see again a gap, and then you can sort of see in the distance, you know, more houses right up to the street. So the idea that we're not complying with the increased front yard setback does not make this out of place. This is not going to stand out and be, oh my goodness, that building's so much more closer to the street than anything else. It's going to say, oh, this looks like everything else. In fact, if you turn right, you know, in Cleveland again is just, you know, packed full of houses that have very short, you know, as in, you know, not very deep front yards, staircases heading right out onto the sidewalk. This is on the right-hand side. That is the existing 6-family that's on the corner. And again, you can see almost no front yard setback on one and a very small front yard setback on the other. On the left-hand side, again, you can see many houses that are built, you know, very close to the sidewalk. And if the houses aren't on the sidewalk, their stairs almost always touch it. Again, further down, here's another building right along the sidewalk, still on Cleveland Street. Again, just, you know, I'm almost down to Maplewood Ave at this point. And at the very end on the left, the two-tone building with the brown roof, that again is the 10-unit building that my client also owns. And that's, you know, right up on the street on both Cleveland and Maplewood. So the positioning of this building, although does not comply with the increased setbacks that GZO in a perfect world dictates, it does meet the way the rest of the neighborhood has configured their construction. I also, as I mentioned, we have a letter from the immediate abutter, so that would be the parcel highlighted in yellow. Again, anyone might grab a shadow in the long shadow days of December. It'll be him, and he has written in favor. That's also a 3-family. And we also had Sunny Robinson, as you know, she wrote individually, not on behalf of Housing for All Gloucester, but she's a housing advocate, and she was very happy to hear that we possibly adding 4 rental units. She mentions in there, this triggers the inclusionary housing requirements, and my client is committed to building the unit on site, and he would take a condition in both this permit and anything the city council gave that he could not use the fee in lieu option to buy his way out of providing an affordable. He would agree to deed restrict in perpetuity one of these units on site, despite the city council recently making the fees less to buy your way out of compliance. So again, this is the full length of relief requested. I know it sounds like a lot. Some of it is just for the existing structure where it is being repurposed. Some of it is new. But again, if we want to provide compliant parking, the compliant parking has to go in the middle of this lot. And if you put that much parking in the middle of the lot, you have to push the building out toward the side. I think I didn't really touch upon parking because it is compliant. I will just note one last time that it provides 6 technical spaces, meaning 6 spaces you can get in and out of with a full-size vehicle without anyone else having to move a car around. It also provides snow storage area, et cetera. However, in a snow emergency, you can stuff another 5 or 6 cars into this driveway so that if every one of these units was a 2-car household and we have a snow emergency, everyone's getting off the street and onto this driveway. We can't call it a 12-car parking lot because that configuration does require cars to be, shuffled around. That was a lot. I appreciate you sticking with me through that. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer questions, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Is the way, is that still Sergeant Street that turns the corner? Indeed.
For a distance, it is, yes.
So, and you have right of passage over that and all?
Yes.
All right. We did receive a couple of letters from people on 33 Sergeant Street and opposed. We also received many that came in really late and weren't included in our packet, but are in the public record, I believe. And so we will take some public testimony, I would say. So anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application, if you're in favor, please come forward, or if you're at home, raise your hand. Anyone in favor wishes to speak?
Hello, I'm Ruth Pino and I live at 82 Wheeler Street. I am not personally connected to this project. I decided to speak to you tonight because it's a perfect example of properties that used to conform 50 to 100 years ago and no longer do because of zoning restrictions imposed 30, 40, 50 years ago. I have known the owner for a long time and have found him to be thoughtful and careful in his decisions. And this project and the request for relief is a perfect example how to thoughtfully add to our housing, stock of rental housing, and it has parking. This project will also add a unit to the affordable housing stock. I've been preaching about zoning reform for a long time, and this project is a perfect example. And hopefully this project will give other similar property owners the confidence to do it on their own property. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor? Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Please come forward. Reminder, name and address for the record. If you're at home, you hit your raise hand button and we can pull you in to speak.
Can everybody hear me well?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Don't move.
Okay. So good evening. I'm Carla Delaporta from 9 Cleveland Street. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and actually 4 abutters, those from 29, 31, 33R, and 36 Sargent Street. We're submitting, written opposition copies for the board along with exhibits. So our opposition is not based on emotion or preference, but law, facts, and the applicant's failure to meet statutory burden of proof. I'll address site conditions, hardship, public good, zoning intent. Site conditions. Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, variances are granted only where unique physical land conditions create hardship. Soil, topography. This property has none. Constraints could be addressed through a smaller, compliant structure. Instead, the applicant relies on condition and configuration of the existing building to argue demolition or relocation is necessary. Zoning law does not allow increased density to fix self-created problems. A variance also may not be used to intensify an already non-conforming property. Hardship. Yes, the statute refers to hardship, financial or otherwise, but case law is crystal clear. Financial hardship is not legally sufficient. Hardship, again, has to arise from the land itself. Here, the claimed hardship is zoning limits units, redesign costs money, fewer units reduce profit. Arguments courts consistently reject. The applicant claims the project won't be detrimental to the public, but there's no evidence. There's no traffic study, there's no environmental study, no stormwater or drainage analysis, no privacy or noise assessment, and no emergency access assessment. Statements that the project fits the neighborhood or poses no harm are opinions, not evidence. And some of the information that was shared about statements about Cleveland Street and most of the houses there in that neighborhood coming right up to the curb or right up, that's actually inaccurate. And people giving opinions about the owners of the property being good people, there's nothing in today's application. This is supposed to be based on law. And as far as our position, we feel that the board can't find no adverse impact when the record is empty. So zoning intent. Approval would set a dangerous precedent, using variances as a pathway to high-density development on non-conforming lots. The applicant calls this much-needed housing, yet offers no affordability plan, no analysis of displacement, and no explanation of who it is that would actually benefit. Without clear public benefit, this claim can't justify zoning relief. For these reasons, the application fails legally, and approval would undermine Gloucester's zoning protections. Thank you. And do I just bring up the copies and the exhibit?
Submit them, yep.
Great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, close public testimony, opportunity for rebuttal.
Hey, Joe, I was muted. Sorry. I just had a question for the last speaker. If she was an owner and if she was representing 4 other owners, I just was curious.
Sure. Yes. My name is Carla Della Porta, and I'm representing myself, and I do have an interest because I live at 9 Cleveland Street, right over
You
the
live
tracks.
there or you own? Oh, you own 9 Cleveland.
I own and I reside at 9 Cleveland Street.
Sure.
I was actually one of the houses that was shown in some of the photos the attorney had up. And
Sure.
yes, I am also, in addition to representing and speaking on behalf of myself, I am representing my friends and neighbors at 29, 31, 33R, and 36 Sergeant Street.
Are you an attorney?
Are they also owners?
I'm a friend.
Okay, so
They
you're,
are,
Ma'am?
yes. So they are owners, and I wasn't sure about whether or not I would be able to speak on their behalf. They did send in letters of opposition, but I did include in what I submitted screenshots of text messages where they have given me permission in writing to represent them at this evening's meeting.
Great. Very helpful. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Rebuttal?
Thank you. I'll just touch briefly upon a few of the points made. So although I believe the neighbor was quoting the state law in general correctly, what she failed to mention is that the Gloucester zoning ordinance adds an additional option for hardship, which is not just that the hardship arise from the circumstances related to the soil conditions, shape, or topography of the land. It can also be hardships relating or from the structure in question. We have an existing non-conforming structure that is generating the hardship of placement of this addition. Again, the building needs renovation and rehabilitation, but it is not a complete tear down. The shell is good, and so you cannot do anything with this other than renovate it in place. The second you start adding anything, a third unit, you're going to trigger the requirement for variances as you leave the use table. And so again, the GZO particularly provides for existing structures being the source of the hardship. As for emergency access drainage, I can actually tell you they've gone through and done a drainage plan anyway, because before we locked the design, we had to make sure this is actually going to be something that if it was permitted through you and the city council, that would be constructible. But as this board, I believe, is aware, things like fire access, drainage, those are all covered at the building permit process. And we've done necessary ahead of time to not waste our time in a design that's not functional. But typically you do not require those to be submitted to you, knowing that there's further checks down the line for that sort of thing. Concern about precedent, I think it goes, one of two ways. My understanding, and I believe this board agrees, you're not precedent-setting board. What person A gets does not mean person B is entitled to. Everything's taken at its own merits. If we want to, again, talk about precedent, then again, I invite you to walk down Sergeant Street, walk down Cleveland Street. You will find structures just as large as what's being proposed, closer even to the street than what we're proposing. Again, I showed you a picture of the 6-family, 1 block down on the corner. closer to the street on both of its corner lots. I showed you the house that's directly across the street that's, 57 feet wide versus 67 feet wide. And again, even, one of the people I'm so sorry, I forgot your name, is so rude of me. Carla, thank you. One of the properties Carla was here to represent, I believe 31 Sargent, that house has a house that's, a few feet back from the sidewalk with a deck and stairs right up basically to the sidewalk. And, we don't begrudge them. Again, that's how this neighborhood is laid out. And what we're trying to do, although it sounds like a lot because the GZO is so restrictive when you get into these multifamily settings, the practical result that you saw from these renderings is a structure that looks like the other structures in the area, a structure that is no more dense than many of the other structures in the area, and a structure that is no closer to its property lines or its frontage than other structures, and serves, at the end of the day, the Zoning Board of Appeals is a relief board. Applicants come here seeking relief from the regulations of the GZO, and we are in a housing crisis. And here's an opportunity, as one of the supporters mentioned, to add 4 units of housing to the housing stock, to add 1 unit of deed restricted affordable housing to the housing stock. And again, while I appreciate that the owner is not necessarily the defining characteristic of whether this is a good project or not, Brian Pollard, who I represent, he has been renting out multifamilies in Gloucester for 20 years. Talk to anybody who's a tenant. He keeps his buildings clean, keeps his buildings repaired, keeps his rents reasonable. He's a local guy. This is not some developer who's trying to cash in on this Oceanside community. This is, someone from Gloucester, lives in Gloucester, owns property in Gloucester, and wants to make this property better and serve the needs of the community when it comes to the housing situation we're in. So again, I believe the standards have been met for the relief requested. The board's concerned by anything raised by a neighbor, we can discuss it further. But I think, again, this is a good project. The relief requested sounds like a lot, but it's just because the GZO was basically designed in 2008 to kind of, make sure multifamilies, et cetera, all came through you first. And so we have a pile of relief fast.
Thank you. All right, discussion by the board. Personally, I think it's a nice looking development. They're not trying to go sky high. They're not overdoing it. They didn't have to go to 6, and by going to 6, it creates the deeded affordable unit, which is a plus for the city. So that should bring value to the application. Yeah, the existing house that's there now, they could, non-conforming, they could just keep adding on to it. They no longer have to set back. However, in this case, they are doing a lot to improve the site. The parking is a big plus. And to be honest, this is a piece of land no one would even look to live on 50 years ago when it was the junkyard. It seems to be, housing seems to be creeping into that area, and it's good. It is a dense residential neighborhood, and I would definitely support what they're requesting. Again, these variances are just so that they can go to the city council, who will weigh in on the 6 units and the lesser square footage per unit, dwelling unit, and all the other things that'll be important and people have a chance to speak about. So I'm favorable to it. Any other questions or discussion?
I think that this is what high-density housing looks like. And if we're going to address Gloucester problems, it's going to have to be in this type of situation. I don't think the GZO makes this an easy decision because they're not thinking about this type of structure when they have big setbacks on the front, side, back, etc. But I think that this is what high-density housing looks like, and I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah, I took a screenshot. I'm home, so I took a screenshot of all the relief that Joel was requesting. So I'll just regurgitate it back and move approval of it, and we can vote on it. So I believe I would move approval of the following variances: lot area, lot width, south side yard setback, east side yard setback, rear yard setback, west front yard setback, north front yard setback, and a special permit to exceed the allowable height, which would just be 1 foot for the existing building, not for the new structures. And then alter and expand a pre-existing non-conforming structure for a special permit. I would move approval of all of the relief requested.
Second, all of the relief Michael described.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded. Have we got everything in there? Okay, roll call vote.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes, for the variances and special permits.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Heard our decisions favorable. Appreciate a draft.
Thank you.
Okay, our next application is the application of Belikin Investments LLC for a special permit of variance to convert a single family into a three-family at 4 Day Court. Seaside Legal.
Aiden Church, attorney of Seaside Legal Solutions, address 123 Main Street, Gloucester. Going to share my screen. So I'm here tonight on behalf of Billiken Investments LLC, the principals of which are here tonight in the back corner. And I also have, I believe on Zoom, Chris Barages, the engineer for the project. So the proposal here is to demolish the existing single-family structure and the various accessory structures on the existing lot and construct a new three-family unit. So by way of background, we are in the R20, low to medium density residential district. The existing lot and structure are both fully dimensionally conforming, as is the use. So we're adjacent to the MBTA tracks to the north, to the northeast there. The existing single-family structure on the lot, I believe the board probably all went out to take a site visit. As you could tell, the structure's in rough shape. I believe it's considered vacant, if not condemned at this point. And the lot, while the applicants have been slowly cleaning the lot up, it is still, there's still a lot of debris on there, but had for the past few years been essentially utilized as a commercial dumping ground. So the applicant recently acquired the property and they intend to fully revitalize it with this proposed three-family. So in terms of relief requesting, as you can see on the plans, the structure itself is fully dimensionally compliant. So all we are requesting is a change of use special permit, which is an SP special permit under GZO section 2.3.16. So here are the plans, and if the board has any specific questions about the plans, again, I have the engineer on Zoom who can answer any technical questions for you. But I'll just run through them quickly. Here's the existing conditions. And then here's the proposal. As you can see, court runs and the driveway essentially follows what is historically been the private road. Day Court actually crosses onto the property, so we'll continue to utilize that to access the fully dimensionally compliant structure. So here are the floor plans. They're relatively modest 3-bedroom units. And then here are the elevation plans. As you can see, each has a garage to accommodate parking on the lot. And they have access to the rear decks and things of that sort for open space. So here's an overview of the property. This was taken, I believe, in 2023. And as you can see, there are boats and cars and all other sorts of debris on there, a lot of which, again, has been removed at this point, all of which will be removed in time. Here's just the base map, and here's a picture of when I was out there last. As you can see, the site conditions are not great at this point. So in terms of the standard to be applied for the change of use special permit, as the board knows, it's governed by GZO section 1.8.3. So essentially what the board is asked to consider is whether or not the positive results of the project outweigh the adverse impacts. So that's based on the 7-factor test, as I explain here. So in terms of the social, economic, and community needs served by project, so we're creating new housing units. Again, as everybody has mentioned here tonight, the city's still short on housing creation goals. We're also revitalizing a property that's been historically used for not great purposes. In terms of traffic flow and safety, this is the only lot that actually utilizes day court for access, so we're not overcrowding the street. There's sufficient area within the lot to turn around, so you're not, backing out onto Essex Avenue, which would be a horrific thing. And in terms of traffic on Essex Avenue itself, the 3 units will have a negligible impact. In terms of the adequacy of utilities and other public services, the utilities are sufficient for the 3-family use. We're pulling water and sewer from Essex Ave, as shown on the plans. The public services are sufficient as well. We're in close proximity to the main road for emergency vehicles and things like that. For the residents, we're in close proximity to the highway, and we're obviously in close proximity to the West Gloucester station as well. In terms of neighborhood character and social structure, this project won't negatively impact the neighborhood character. Multifamily residences are intended to be, as the ordinance says, where appropriate. In this case, the lot itself is over 2 acres. It's very large. It can fully accommodate these 3 units. It's also tucked in essentially behind and off of the main street. So it's sort of hidden and is bounded by the MBTA in the rear. So there's limited abutters as well. And again, it's fully dimensionally compliant in terms of setbacks and density. In terms of the quality of the natural environment, as I mentioned, we're improving that by removing all of the debris that's been scattered around for the past many years. In terms of fiscal impact, the city will receive new growth tax revenue from the creation of 2 new units here. And in terms of vulnerability to flooding and flood damage, we are not in a flood zone. So again, just requesting the only relief necessary is a special permit under 2.3.16, and that's the SP special permit. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions by the board? No? Okay, we'll take public testimony. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application, please come forward or raise your hand if you're online. Anyone in favor? Seeing none. Any opposition to the application? Seeing none, we'll close public testimony. Any further questions or?
I can make a motion if you want.
I just wish this was a 6-unit development with that big a lot. So I hope you'll be coming back in a year or 2.
Now, that would be a whole adequate access issue, but anyway. Michael, you want to make a motion?
Sure. Application of Billiken Investments LLC for a special permit 2.3.1 parentheses 6 change of use from a single family to a 3-family at 4-day court. Based on 1.8.3 factors, I think they've been satisfied by the attorney's explanation, so I'd move approval of the special permit.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Heard our decision's favorable. Appreciate a draft.
Thank you.
They need a break or we good? All right, the next application is the application of Sally Strand seeking to modify the plans of a previously granted special permit at 250 East Main Street.
Hello, I'm William Rule, the second architect representing Sally Strand, who I believe is on the Zoom call, and Larry Alinskas, builder, is behind me here. Um,
Can you just state your address for the record?
Yeah, 53 Marmion Way, Rockport. Larry's from Rockport as well. But I think we're here tonight because there were a couple of changes from the 2024 Zoning Board of Appeals approval that preceded my time on the project. The original architect had well, her father was very ill, so she had to move out of town, take care of him. I took over for her about a year ago and inherited the approved footprint, maximum height, roof pitch, everything that you had approved. The changes came about as a result of a misunderstanding. There were supposed to be dormers on the original application. I understand the original architect doesn't like dormers, so she didn't put them in there. And, so I designed dormers like the client wanted. I understand more recently that there was a question about the length of the house. The length hasn't changed since what was originally approved. The footprint is identical to what was approved.
At which point did you get involved? Was the foundation in?
Foundation was in. John
So-
Judd did do a survey, a resurvey, and confirmed that to me that the outline of the foundation was identical to what was approved.
So you stating that the dormers, the only ones we see are on the right, is that the extent of the change?
There are dormers on, well, I call it the south. It's kind of the southwest side of the house and the northeast side of the house.
Or on both sides of the roof?
Both sides
Okay.
of the roof, and they are under they don't stick up above the ridge.
And then from looking, I understand there's some differences in the front too. What was on the plans we approved?
There was a porch that ran the full side of the front of the house, and what we kept was a smaller porch just for entering the house.
Right, but didn't you take what was going to be the porch and enclose it and make it part of the house?
Yes.
That's a significant change from what we approved. Also, let's not understate what went on.
It's a change, absolutely.
So any change to the plan we approved
That's why I'm here. Yeah.
needs to be, well, you need to be clear about what you're asking for. Any other questions at this point from the board?
So just to clarify, what are the differences between the current plans and the plans that were approved?
So there are new dormers that were not part of the original application, I now realize. And there are the front porch that faces East Main is smaller than what was originally drawn.
Right, but didn't the piece is now part of the house?
Yeah, so the parallel or the opposite side of that coin that he just described, the porch is smaller, the house is bigger. The
Right.
enclosed space took the space of what had previously been allowed as a porch.
In terms of conditioned space, yes, the footprint is identical.
Yeah, well, we approved the overall package. There was a lot of opposition. We had long hearings. And to just take that pretty good sized rectangle and call it interior of the house now when it wasn't before, you move the exterior wall. If I could read this plan, 8 feet, 6. Eight foot by,
Just to clarify, the garage that's on the lower level is in the same plane as the living space on the main living level and the second floor. They're all lined up. So the porch was not added on to what was approved. You know, it was within the footprint of.
right, but you took open porch, which, and now you've made it solid. So that any view, not that there's any view, but
Yeah, there's no view.
less people can look across. You took 8 feet away and you made the house bigger by 8 feet than what we approved. Not the foundation, not the footprint. The interior living space got bigger by 8 by 16 feet. That's like a whole nother room.
Yeah, 6 by 16, I think, Joe.
Is that a 6?
Yeah, it's about 100 square feet, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that was a significant change, which I don't think should have been glossed over.
I would agree with that.
You know, it's no closer to the street than the 75% of the house already was.
We're aware of that. What we are dealing with is you changed, the plan that I stamped and signed is not what you're building, and that's why your project got stopped.
Got it.
Because you just took it on yourself to build something different. A whole new set of plans that this board never approved. That's not how it operates. Any thoughts by the board?
Yeah, so just remind me, I don't think I have the previous decision in front of me again. But this was a special permit, is that what we did?
Do we have that in the folder?
I'm pretty sure it was special. I'm pretty sure it was a special permit.
Yeah, there was 2 buildings and they took the combined, we allowed them to make the house bigger and that other bond went away.
Yeah, but I think it was all by special permit is what I'm remembering.
Yeah, it was a special permit for alternate expand. And so there was a lot of discussion about the right side boundary and the neighbors' opposition.
Yep.
And compromises were made on,
Joe, they actually went to the board twice. The first time they went to get a special permit and possibly a variance, and then the contractor ended up realizing that the building was not salvageable from where they were looking to do, and then they had to come back to get a 2.45 to tear the
Yep,
whole thing
to tear down
down.
we go.
To tear
But
down.
all under special permit. I'm pretty sure there were no variances here.
Might not have been, but they're definitely all special permit.
Yep.
but what are you thinking, Michael, on that?
Yeah, no. So the question before us is, with the addition, with the extra 100 square feet of enclosed conditioned space on the front of the building, and with the addition of 2 dormers, one on each side of the building, would we have decided? Are we deciding now that it's substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood? So, it's time to give comments, I can give you some comments. So,
Why don't we take public testimony first?
yeah, sure, sure.
All right. We're going to open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? In favor, come forward or raise your hand if you're at home. Anyone in favor? Seeing none, is there any opposition? In the hall, please come forward. A reminder, name and address first, and then speak away. And we do have one hand up at home.
Yeah, Joe, just a reminder for the person who might speak in opposition as well, that the opposition is not to the building that's there now. That was all approved and it's, registry of deeds and so on. The opposition really should be addressed at the 100 square feet that was enclosed on the front and the request for adding dormers, which we didn't previously approve. That's what the in favor would be, and that's what the opposition should be. Otherwise, it's going to fall on deaf ears for me. So,
Correct. Go ahead.
My name is Cindy Deal. I live at 281 East Main Street, which is directly across from.
Nice and loud, ma'am. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
All right. Cindy Deal, 281 East Main Street, directly across the street from 250, the project that's being discussed. Actually, this has been special permit because of variance requests from the beginning because of setbacks, just to clarify. This property's been before the zoning 3 times and been granted relief each time. I'm glad that you recognize that this was a set of brand new plans that was different, not just an update to what had previously been submitted. There's new windows, new siding. It's a 5-bedroom house now with about 3,000 square feet compared to the last revision of plans that was still a 3-bedroom house with 2,500 square feet. It includes a 3rd-story expansion with full sides to the building edge and a flat roof line that matches the peak. I don't consider that a dormer. I consider a full room built onto the 3rd floor. It does have partial roofs to the peak on the front and back side, but this section is a complete floor with a bedroom and a room. In addition to the foundation, the original foundation that was going to be put in place, they extended beyond the footprint that was originally set for the building up to the ledge and back. My concerns are the size and capacity of the house are out of scale to the adjacent home and neighborhood, that the lot coverage has been exceeded. When I look at the last plans, the foundation was 60 by 22 and met the 30% requirement or allowance. The plans now show a house on the 1st level and 2nd level that's 67 by 22, which exceeds lot coverage allowances. I did find it puzzling that the builder did continue to work on the 3rd floor expansion even after a work order to stop on that section was issued by the building inspector. Again, they've been granted relief 3 times, changed their projects, and did not submit a request for a new variance or modification until they were forced to by the building inspector and legal counsel with a full stop order. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Go ahead.
My name is Judith Drinkwater. I live directly next to this house at 252 East Main Street. I've been at all the zoning boards. I have a picture. I wish I had put it up on a poster because one look is worth 1,000 words. I'm basically concerned too. We've had a major drainage problem on this project. Last year, we had so much water runoff that my neighbor at 262 East Main Street, Lisa Lever, lost her car. It was totally totaled because of the water and the ice going down the street. Now, I went to Pond Street And the building people down there, very nice, showed me the plan and assured me that the drainage was on the plan and that's how it would be done. Well, the drainage somehow got done and it went across the street and is now in the Gloucester water drainage. I don't know how that was approved or if it was approved. And the patio in the back, close to my lot line, like maybe 2 inches, I don't believe it was on the plan. They have now filled in directly up to the boulder behind the house, the whole back of the home, and have made a lovely patio. I don't know if they have a permit for that either. On my side of the house, they did pour a receiving wall, retaining wall, and they have faced it. I have to say, the masons did an excellent job, but I'm not sure if that was all permitted either. I just think a lot has happened that they've just decided to do things, and I think it needs to be addressed. So thank you very much. There might be other people on Zoom.
Thank you. Yeah, there are.
Joe, I'm sorry. I'm gonna mimic what I said before. I just want to remind people, for me as a board member, I'm going to ignore you. So the things that that lady just addressed, I'm sure they have value. If I was a neighbor, they would have value to me. I would report those to the building inspector to compare to the plans to see if they're legitimately there or not. That's not what's before us tonight. What's before us is 100 square feet added to the front of the building and 2 dormers. That's all I'm listening to. I'm just letting people know I'm ignoring the rest. It has nothing to do with this hearing, in my opinion.
Hey, Richard Carlson has his hand up.
Hi, Rich Carlson, 7 Ratcliffe Street. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Speaking to the dormer issue, East Main Street is an historic neighborhood. The house is right across the street from the 100-year-old Twin Lights garage. It's directly across from the Last Stop restaurant, which was a trolley stop in the 20s. The houses on either side of the street are traditional peaked roof designed houses, some of which even appear in Edward Harper's art. The R10 emphasizes compatibility with traditional New England neighborhood character. I'm going to use the word dormer here because you guys are using it, but I'm going to agree with Ms. Deal that the dormer didn't seem to be a dormer. It seemed to be the extension of a flat roof. When the construction was stopped, the flat roof where the dormers had been brought forward to the front and an A-frame of sorts was put onto the wall. That seemed to be their intent. They seemed to be building the whole thing out so that it had an almost flat roof. As a resident of the neighborhood, I'd like to see the property developed consistent with existing regulations, respecting the convention for peaked roofs in residential areas. Given the house's historical location, I'd also hope that the developers would seek to respect and honor the history of the neighborhood. And what they seem to be doing is sacrificing that in favor of additional floor space. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, close public testimony. The applicant has an opportunity for rebuttal.
I'm not a lawyer, so I won't be rebutting. I'll just, I'll just focus on architectural issues. The original house, as I understand it, was 0 feet from the street. And, any view from one side to another side through the front porch that was there originally was never there before. So, in terms of change, I mean, I feel bad that I'm here in this position trying to ask you to forgive the changes. But, you know, just a smaller front porch, I understand. Thank you, Mr. Neiman, for quantifying it, 100 square feet of extra space that was going to be open porch now is in enclosed interior space. You know, the dormers, Larry measured the height of the building today. We're actually a foot below, might be foot and a half below what was allowed in the original zoning approval that you all gave. So the house did drop slightly. So if that's of any interest, and the dormers are, you know, they aren't flat, they are slightly pitched like all roofs. And it sounded like Mr. Carlson hadn't seen that you know, it's like 2/3 of the house are pitched roofs, just like was originally presented.
The thing that stands out to me is looking at your drawings. You refer to the existing foundation walls. So it was almost like you were designing a completely new home, thinking that this
When I
was something
started
already
work-
there.
When I started working, those were already built. The foundation was.
Right, but they were part of the project. They were part of the
Correct.
special permit. They weren't existing foundation walls. They were new foundation walls that have been put in since the other house was torn down.
Correct.
And it seems to me,
Existing to me, but not, you know, I understand.
and then it's, I don't know, it's just like a blatant disregard for what was approved, as if you knew nothing about it. You know, the building permit was issued on a set of plans that was stamped. You proceeded to build a different house. And then we're somewhat not forthcoming on all the changes. I'm not so worried about the front either, because I know it was out to the street and it was pulled back. These were all compromises. We went through a long process of changing this. And it is right smack on the houses next door. I mean, I don't know how we got through this building process without the other house falling down, to be honest with you. But
Which house falling down?
on the right side, very close.
The one that's built right to their property line?
Right, long before, when both houses were there, long before your customer, excuse me, sir, you're not at the podium. Long before your client decided to do this project and got it all out, then we had to come back and let them tear it down. I mean, it's been amended a number of times. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have a problem with the front piece, but I don't know if people are going to object to the dormers more. They are to the peak. So you just said we lowered the ridge from the plan that we approved.
It's slightly lower.
Again, with no permission to do it. With no permission to do it.
We could raise it.
You're using that argument to justify the dormer. It's still at the ridge. And it takes up.
It's adding
2/3 of the
something,
house.
it's adding excess of 500 square feet
Right.
of livable space that you'd have 7-foot height. I mean, previously you could have used that for storage, but now you've got living space.
You've got you've created
It's a
this giant
substantial
playroom.
increase.
It's a significant increase over what we approved.
And it's mass on the outside too. All of that shed dormer on each side is mass increasing.
Well, I don't know. I commend the building department for noticing. A lot of times this stuff gets built and then it's too late. But we're getting tired of the blatant disregard for following what was approved. And we're going to start having people tear stuff down. We got a few more coming up that didn't follow, and they're coming before us in the next few months. And we're going to start making somebody take something down to prove a point, to just stop this, because we're getting too much of it. Anyway.
So currently, the way that we've dealt with these situations is that we ask, and we can change the way that we have historically done it. So it's up to the building inspector to do the fining, for doing, the dollar fining and stuff like that. I don't think that's our purview here. The way I see it is that everything was granted with a special permit. That's what this building has. So I would say I listened to the lady, even though I sort of chided her a tiny bit that I'm only interested in sort of what's before us. But she talked about the building possibly being bigger than it was allowed and that it's now not meeting, lot coverage and stuff like that. To me, that would be something to take up with the building inspector. If that's true, they don't have permission to do that because I don't believe that we gave them a lot coverage variance. That's a separate issue, not before us. So I think what's before us is, does this additional 100 square feet that was enclosed and these two dormers, does that change our mind that this is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood? Because what we said the first time before these dormers were added and this front piece was enclosed is we said that it was not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. And one other comment for me, and I'm not a big fan of this building. I don't know if I would have voted in favor of it, knowing now what I'm looking at, but I did. So it's gone. That to me, that's gone by. I already voted for that. So I have a photo that I took right at the edge. I'm in Rocky Neck, and I'm looking at the building directly across the street from Rocky Neck. And that building with the dormer on the right-hand side looks pretty similar to this house. This house at the end of Rocky Neck, looking, across the street, it's a prettier house, I think, than this house is going to be. But it's tall, it's got a steep pitched roof, and it's got a dormer on the right-hand side. And so I feel like it matches the shape of the house pretty good, actually. There's no garage on the bottom of it. So again, the reminder is this house that we're looking at with the dormers in the front substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood? I think that's the only honest and fair question that's before us tonight.
Agree. So how are we proceeding? We ready for a motion?
I'm not sure I'm ready to vote on this without going out there. Now that I know what we are really looking at. Not having the before, we obviously don't have the previous decision, which is supposed to be included in these things. But I would just as soon not vote.
Well, we have no issue with, I think we're far enough along that this could be squeezed in if we wanted to allow the members of the board to take another look. We've traditionally done that. And that would mean we could come back. You're not here.
So Joe, you're going to close public hearing and we're just going to come back and vote? Is that the idea?
Yeah, we closed the hearing. We're going to postpone a vote until January 8th to allow members to take a second look.
I'm fine with that.
And we'll have the decision sent out to the members from the previous.
Does that mean my group can't work anymore? You guys have already done this to me for a month and a half. And the question is only about a dormer. I don't even care about the 100 square feet in front. The foundation permit was already pulled there. That's a fact. The thing that's right there is the dormer. That's what's in question.
I think we should go ahead and vote on this. I think we can vote on this now.
Sir, if you continue.
I can't hear what's being said, Joe.
I know, because he's not following protocol. He's just.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And that's not going to help your case. Oh, okay. So we're going to take a motion to continue this to January 8th. There's a stop work order in effect. And that's up to the building department.
I'd like to make a motion to continue the application of Sally Strand at 250 East Main Street to modify a previously granted special permit.
I can second that as long as you're closing the hearing, Joe, as long as you're closing the public
Close
testimony.
the public hearing, yep.
Yep, okay. I can second that.
Motion made and seconded to continue to January 8th to vote on the application after we receive the original decision with the plan and have a chance, members that choose to have a chance to go out and take another look.
So will Natasha email that to us? So make it easy for us?
I just pulled them up, so I'll email them to you
Great.
before I leave
Thank
tonight.
you. Yep.
Motion made and seconded, roll call.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Norton.
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Okay, we'll continue to the 8th. Yes, we're gonna get them. They were, as long as you can reference they are in the packets, right? So if you reference the date of the original, we can go back into that, whatever it was, 2022, whatever.
And you can actually.
And you'll be able to see everything. Okay, yeah. All righty, we're getting there. Next application is the application of Variance Semiconductor Equipment Associates, Inc. for a special permit of variance to add an addition at 30 Blackburn Drive.
Good evening. I'm John Goodwin. I'm the project manager for Applied Materials. And we have our architect and other engineers here to present the project to you. Thank you for your time.
Hey, John, nice and loud, and pull that mic up, whoever's speaking, please.
All right. I'm John Goodwin with Applied Materials. I'm the project manager on the project we're presenting tonight. And I'll have the engineer and the architect present our project.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For the record, Eric Svahn, SGA Architects, 99 High Street, Boston. You can help me on here. Alrighty. Next.
So maybe to cut to the chase a little and save a lot of presenting, basically, as I studied this, this is considered an accessory building to the primary. So it's the distance from it to the street and a side yard setback are the only issues in the industrial park for you to build the building that you choose. Am I correct on that?
We have one other item in an application correction. The address is listed as 35 Dory Drive, which is the headquarters of Varian, and the site is actually 30 Blackburn Drive.
Right.
So minor correction on the front of the application. We are seeking relief for the side yard setbacks for a dunnage platform, which would be on the left side of the building. We are seeking relief of relief for an accessory structure's distance from the road, which would be a new fire pump house, which is in the lower right-hand corner of the site. And we are seeking relief from the distance of an accessory building from the principal building. Required is 20, existing is 10, and we're the distance between the pump shed and the gas bunker, right where the cursor is now 7 feet is what we're proposing.
Okay, yep, that's as we understand it. So basically, that's just clarifying some placement for you. And then you then go to the planning board for a site
We've
plan.
been to the planning board 2 weeks ago, presented our plan because of the industrial district, because the additions are more than 2,000 square feet. And the plan was approved by the planning board.
Okay, good. All righty. So with that regard, I mean, we have your plans, we see the placement. I don't think this requires an awful lot of explanation to us unless any of the board members want to hear more. No, I think we're pretty good, cut and dry.
I could talk for an hour and I've got.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid that.
I'm in favor.
We love.
You're getting paid by the hour. I'm salary. You did get to sit here for an hour and a half.
Yeah, sorry about that. We're busy. With that in mind, I'd like to open the public hearing for testimonies, just in case there is any. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Anyone in favor, please come forward or raise your hand if you're online. I can't see them sharing the screen. Okay. No one, anyone in opposition to the project? Anyone in opposition? See none. I'll close public testimony. I don't see any reason why we can't proceed. Everything was well spelled out for us, and no sense going over it again. We love to see expansion in the industrial park. Need a motion to approve those three elements.
I'd like to propose a motion on the application of variance semiconductor equipment associates incorporated for special permit and variance to add an addition to 30 Blackburn Drive. I move approval.
Seconded.
We have a motion made and second to grant a side yard setback, a distance from the accessory building to the street, and the correction of the address, which was in the motion. All in favor? We got to have a roll call, sorry. Somebody's at home. We need a roll call.
Sorry about that.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. So you've heard our decisions favorable. Are you folks drafting your written decision with planning or with us? Or do you have that capability? Or do you need us to do it?
I think we'd like you to do it.
Okay.
We'd appreciate that.
Yeah, Lauren will.
Thank you.
do that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. The next application is Suko Polson for a special permit of variance to construct a balcony at 6 Commonwealth Ave. I don't know. Michael is on. I mean, he owns the house.
Hi, my name is Atsuko Polzin, and it's at 6 Commonwealth Avenue here in Gloucester. I'd like to thank you, the member of the board, for considering my application. I'm seeking relief with this application for special permit to build a small balcony on the rear of the existing house. And the balcony is approximately 9.5 and 4.5 feet, rectangular, and it's on the second floor.
And this is on the back of your house,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And it has, it's a protruding balcony, right? There's no foundation, no post to the ground.
That's correct. They're just sort of structural brackets supporting that 4-foot wide.
Current roof.
Okay. Any other questions at this time from the board? All righty. You can have a seat. And we'll take public testimony. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Anyone in favor? Please raise your hand if you're home, or come up if you're here. Anyone in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Any opposition, please come forward. And a reminder, name and address for the record first, and then tell us your opposition.
My name is Beverly Palmacci, and I live at 8 Commonwealth Avenue, the house next door. Now, unfortunately, I have no technological sophistication, so I can't put up any slides up there for everybody to see. So I have brought good old-fashioned photographs. My house is built on the property line, on the retaining wall. The house next door is 2 feet away from me. The balcony, which has already been added, which should not have been, is 72 inches from the property line.
So it's no closer than the house that's there, your next door neighbor, right?
No.
Okay.
But it goes certainly farther out.
Yep.
And once if they put the railing up where you see the 2x4s are, it's going to create basically a solid mass there. That was not there.
What is that? I'm not sure what that means, a solid mass.
Oh,
I mean,
it's
I know what the word means, but
you can't see through it.
it's a porch. I'm assuming it's a rail system.
Yes,
Yeah,
and once you put the railings around, it's not going to be enough visibility through the rails to see anything light.
Hold it up,
Or,
Mike.
I mean, it's going to.
Why is it going to be any different than the one on your house,
Why
Beverly?
do
I
you
don't- I
sound
don't-
so angry?
I think I get to ask the questions, Beverly.
Well, I think that you're yelling at me.
I'll lower my voice. I don't mean to yell. I don't know how much you hear here.
Michael, can you see the Joe screen? Can you see those pictures?
I'm on Google Street. I'm looking right through Beverly's porch, and I'm looking right at the 4x4s posts on the balcony. I'm looking right at the real thing. So
Okay.
Can I
Alrighty.
continue?
What it,
I purchased this house 31 years ago, and it was in extremely poor condition. I immediately contacted my 2 immediate abutters regarding my plans to cut down 3 pine trees that had caused much damage to the home I bought. My abutters were ecstatic. They were about to have sunlight in their homes. Those trees caused the 3-season porch on my property to rot out, which necessitated its removal. As I could not afford to replace it, I had 2 decks up and down built in the room's footprint, thus opening the space. Years later, I had a garage built by Mr. Nyman in the footprint of 2 metal sheds that had rusted and were collapsing. Before doing so, I went door to door to ask every abutter on the city's list if they had any objection. None did, as all saw it as an obvious improvement. The balcony that has been recently erected on 6 Commonwealth was apparently incorrectly given a permit by the building department. No notice was given to me. To add a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot, as I understand it, permission must be granted by the ZBA, which is why we're here now. It is most unfortunate that the unapproved balcony was added. My house sits on the property line, on the retaining wall between the two houses. Some years ago, a previous owner added a bathroom 2 feet from the property line. This structure had no permit. I went to the building department to report it and signed a statement regarding the offense. Nothing was ever done regarding that offense. As the two houses are just feet apart, there is little opportunity for either building to get sunshine or air, so mold and light form in both buildings, particularly mine. The unpermitted structure became a particular eyesore. It was a bathroom that my abutter added. As neither building is going anywhere, it will continue to be an issue. The unpermitted balcony is 72 inches from the property line, which is certainly not the required setback. It protrudes several feet out, blocking my morning sun from the front of my deck, where I grow herbs, salad ingredients, and flowers. As most of my deck is shaded by my second floor deck, I value that sunshine, and I sit there for my daily dose of vitamin D. Our neighborhood is as dense as a neighborhood can be. To add structures to it simply makes it that much denser and claustrophobic. This is not an issue of a necessary staircase because it's not legally required for any reason. It's not a two-family house. The house is a single family. My house and the house at 4 Commonwealth Avenue have added rear staircases because it's required by law. I object to any addition so close to me that impacts sun on my deck, my privacy, and therefore my quality of life. Had I been informed of the planned addition, as I inform my neighbors of any changes I made, this situation could have been avoided. The balcony is already an obstruction without the railing. In my opinion, with a railing, it becomes far more of an obstruction. Thank you.
So is the balcony the only thing that's been added? You talked about an addition or bathroom. But that was long ago.
When, you know, Mrs. Favazza owned that house.
Yep.
She added a bathroom where the building is 2 feet from me. She extended that. So, I mean, I've been told there's nothing I can do about that because it was grandfathered in and it was constructed poorly. It was covered with mold. It was bright green. The house was bought by a flipper. He power washed it, painted over it. Ms. Polson's construction people apparently said that it was very poorly constructed. They apparently have improved it. But the fact of the matter is that is in front of my front porch. Wasn't there before. That was added.
So the entire house is the same distance from the boundary that it's been, right? So it's 2 feet or whatever you
It's 2
say.
feet from me.
Yeah.
Not the
And then this balcony is on the
72
backside.
inches from the
No,
property line.
no
I'm on the
closer.
property line.
Okay, we're gonna one spot. No closer than the existing house. So when you expand the non-conforming structure, which is what the application is, because of case law, as long as you're not going closer to the nonconformity, we really don't have a lot to deny it on. They could build that house at that same 2 feet all the way back in their whole backyard, and it wouldn't be anything that we could stop. And that's because of other court cases that have been fought, and we get those precedents and we have to follow them, those decisions. So that line could be drawn all the way back. The fact it's only going back 4.5 feet and it's stepped in a little bit from the corner, I don't think we'd have.
Well, a man from the building department said that to me, and I said, well, then, if that's the case, I could extend my house, excuse me, all the way back.
Yes, you could.
And build an apartment building there. Now, would that really be sensible or acceptable to anyone?
We didn't make the law, the courts did, and you could do that.
I could build an apartment building
As
all
long as you
along
keep
my
that line going
property.
back. Now, other things may come into, if you just built an addition on your house following that line. Now, if you talked about wanting to make it 2, 3, those other things kick in then. But if you just wanted to make your house bigger and follow your side line back 10 feet, 15 feet, 20, you can do that. And we couldn't stop you.
Well, I've never done it out of consideration for my
I
neighbors.
understand. But
When we
what's,
live in such a dense area, I think that that's
yeah. What was
extremely
put
important.
on, the balcony that was put on, sort of, I mean, meets about every criteria there is. And
Look at those photographs and see what an obstruction it's going to be to me. It's facing east, that's going to be blocking my sunlight. And isn't that a
Yeah.
consideration under the zoning laws?
No, not if they were asking to be taller than allowed, then shadowing and view and all that comes into play. If they're not asking for any of that, we have no jurisdiction to use that as a factor to deny something. We can't say it's gonna overshadow because they're not asking for a height exception. This is only halfway up the house and it's an open porch. Well, that's just my experience. I can't speak for the board, but I don't see how we could not approve this.
I have an opinion, but I can wait until, other people speak.
I would concur with what Joe said. It seems to fit into what we are here to approve.
No. No. We've already closed the public hearing.
Oh,
Sorry?
so no more opposition,
You're the
Joe?
presenter? You don't get to have a rebuttal on that. No, you only got one shot. That's the law. Those are the rules.
Spoken.
You haven't spoken yet? Oh, I thought you said, I can't understand what you're saying. You want to speak in opposition? Go to it.
Hello, my name is Peggy Dillon. I live at 10 Wall Street, and I can see the house in question with the porch from my house. We are crammed in the neighborhood being referenced here. And
What's your address, ma'am? I'm sorry. What's your address?
Wells, W-E-L-L.
10. Great, thank you.
And I understand the need for more housing and refurbishment of houses, but honestly, we are packed in there, and it's downright claustrophobic in this area that Beverly is speaking about. And I also think that it was built without coming to the zoning board, which is wrong. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. We have one person online too. Didn't she already speak, that person? Oh, on a different hearing? Oh. You can pull that person in. I think it's a woman. Well, as I said, if you wish to speak, come forward and we'll recognize you.
Hello.
There's somebody ahead of you though. Just a moment.
Okay. Yes, I spoke earlier about some other project, but I'd like to address this one as well. My name is Sultanat Bertikeva. My address is 33 Middle Street in Gloucester. I oppose the balcony encroachment at 6 Commonwealth Avenue, and I would like to join the other two people who spoke against it to ask ZBA to require to remove it. Zoning is supposed to function even in non-conforming areas by limiting impacts, not expanding them. In this case, the balcony is creating significant impacts on abutters. And I think it's ZBA's job to also protect existing homeowners and their quality of life. Contrary to the Gloucester zoning ordinance provisions that protect air, light, and view, this will block sunlight, limit views, and reduce the livability of neighboring properties. And approving this after the fact encroachment would intensify an already extremely overbuilt site and set the precedent that zoning violations can be legalized after construction. This balcony is not creating new housing, and it serves no public benefit. Approving it would send a message that zoning violations can simply be legalized after the fact. So I would like to ask the ZBA to deny any variances or approval related to this balcony and require its full removal. And as residents and homeowners, we'd like to ask the ZBA to respect the zoning ordinance and protect property owners and abutters. Thanks.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Good evening. My name is Beverly Johnson. I live at 50 Summer Street in Gloucester, and I'm basically in the neighborhood. It's a crowded neighborhood. We're on each other some. I have never come to this board meeting, and I found it interesting that people get to say, well, we're going to pull back our design just so that our shadow won't be coming on somebody else's property. I don't know what all the laws are. I don't know what you have to file to be able to put a porch on. I don't know if that was filed or not. That would be certainly something I would think some board in Gloucester would be addressing. But I think when you're living right on top of one another, there are considerations that should be made and thought about in how this is going to impact your neighbor. I heard it from the fellow who's rebuilding on Washington Street, and the neighbors had been concerned about shadows and had been concerned about what was going on. And yet it appears in this case that you can be right on top of one another and you can start building stuff and make shadows. And I think this certainly affects one's quality of life. It also affects how neighbors are This is already a problem for the neighbor. She's a next door neighbor. And this is already going to be a problem if neighbors are sort of encroaching on one another. We have a lovely town, and we have a lovely neighborhood in Ward 3. And it's just tough if we can build shadows over each other without having to get permission or without having to reflect on that. So I just wanted to say that, and I don't know how it all works, but it's been an interesting instruction tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? One online. We'll close public testimony. The applicant has a chance to rebut anything that was said by the opposition, if you so choose.
Thank you. I just want to clarify something. My contractor, they did submit for building permit back in May, and we did receive building permit for that, exact design that I submitted as part of the application. Nothing has changed. The size, material, design, as shown in the application that was submitted, and we did receive permit that triggered the work to start. So it's not as if some people alluded to as, implied as if we went on to build something without going through the process. And I just want to clarify that that was not the case at all. Another thing is that I also want to clarify, I'm sure that some of you, came by and saw the site and might have noticed that many homes around that neighborhood do already have decks. It's very typical to have decks and porches and balconies of a similar structure. And to be honest, my next door neighbor, hers is maybe 10 times the size of mine. And my house is a small house, and I was very mindful to keep this addition very modest in size. It's only 9.5 by 4.5. And usable space is 9 by 4. That's just big enough to put a chair to have a cup of coffee. And our backyard is facing south. So the sun, they're talking about the sun as if I'm blocking the sun. Vitamin D, it's a little bit to be honest, absurd because the southern, sun is actually coming from the backyard, true for her. And as to the distance between our structures, she did put her garage foot away from my line too. So I'm not sure why she's complaining about the existing distances between some of the structures. Another thing is that the bathroom structure that have been allegedly added illegally, that happened before my ownership, and I had nothing to do with that. And I think it's inappropriate to bring in whatever her, previous feelings she had towards the previous owners, bring it to this very specific topic, and then make it into an argument against a very small structure. I think it's inappropriate. And another thing is that I did receive multiple letters of support from other neighborhoods, neighbors who have absolutely no problem. And they were, in fact, very glad that I was carrying on this project and being mindful of even not just the size being so small, but also the design of the structure, because the house was built around 1880. So we did the study of what, design of these things should look like and design of the brackets. So we're trying to make it very period appropriate. So in terms of, impact in the neighborhood, I think it's absurdly over-exaggerated by some of the comments that have been provided here today. And I respectfully submit that this shouldn't have any material impact to the characteristics of the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I will state for the record that there was a building permit issued for this. They began construction. They received complaints and put a stop to it so that a hearing like this could take place. So we're here today to address that. I wasn't 100% sure that it was necessary because I felt it could have been built as a matter of right with the permit that was taken. But anyway, we're here having the hearing. We've heard both sides. Any discussion by the board? Michael, did you want to?
Yeah, I have some pretty, I'll try to keep my voice down and not yell, but I have some pretty strong opinions. The applicant, Ms. Paulson, stole my thunder, almost point by point, is what I was going to say. That respectfully, it feels disingenuous to me that the neighbor to the right has a double, as a first floor and a second floor, and I'm looking at it on Street View. I think it's approximately 12 by 12 porches. The neighbor to the left, I don't think there was any comment from that particular neighbor, has a fairly large upper deck. And so I would just concur with the applicant that everybody wants a little deck. This lady's put a 4x9 deck off from the back of her house with a permit, which you just said. So it just, I don't really understand, respectfully, all the opposition. I think she has a right to it. There's a very, very, very low bar for us for granting a special permit for this deck. I don't think it'll obstruct views. I don't think it'll obstruct the air. I don't think it'll do anything except allow this lady to get out on that porch and enjoy sun just like her neighbors do. So
I seem to remember that we have a letter from a neighbor in favor of it. Three
of them, yeah.
Okay, just for the record, there's three who haven't spoken here tonight. So what are we, but would we be voting on if this
We'd be voting on a
barely
permit
needs a permit?
to allow her to alter and expand a non-conforming structure. Special permit. The bar is this going to be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than what is there now? And that doesn't mean the neighbor on either side, the neighborhood. I grew up in that neighborhood. We all were right on top of each other. We all were good friends. 20 of us walked to school together every day. It was a real family neighborhood. So that's our bar. think it's easily met. And I'll entertain.
I can make a motion whenever you want.
Please.
Application of Atsuko Paulson for a special permit to alter and expand a non-conforming structure at 6 Commonwealth Avenue. I would move approval of the special permit.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call vote.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Heard the decision's favorable. We'll draft a decision and get it out to you with instruction.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, last action of the night is a public hearing for 50 Rear Maplewood Avenue. The Bigelow Real Estate LLC. Review a request for substantial change to modify comprehensive permit conditions and project plans. Attorney Paz.
Thank you. Good evening. Appreciate everyone burning the midnight oil tonight. This presentation is very brief, and so I'll be as quick as I can about it. While this loads up, for the record, my name is Joel Favaza. I am an attorney at Seaside Legal Solutions with an address of 123 Main Street. I am here on behalf of Bigelow Real Estate LLC, the principal of which is Bill Wheat. He's here today in the Yukon sweatshirt. And so the board has advertised this as a public hearing. So just as a threshold matter, I will start by saying that at the conclusion of my very brief presentation, I'm going to request a continuance, and the board can decide how they want to handle that. But from the outset, I want to be very clear. We're here about the modification to a comprehensive permit that was granted pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40B, not 40A. So if anyone tonight tries to talk to you about the GZO, that's all promulgated pursuant to 40A. Irrelevant, right? We are under 40B. And when we talk about rules of procedure, et cetera, that's all for your normal zoning 40A. So if we're in a 40B comprehensive permit, 40B being designed to get out and around from 40A and the ordinances promulgated thereunder. The comprehensive permit that you granted on this property is very clear. Condition I, if the applicant desires to change any aspect of the project, applicant shall submit a written request for such modification to the board in accordance with 360 CMR 560511. That CMR is right there, and it says very clearly that if we want to make that change, to change details of the project, it shall promptly notify the board in writing describing such change. So the requirement to request a modification is it must be in writing and it must describe such change. On the 19th of November, this letter was submitted to the City of Gloucester Zoning Board of Appeals at the City Hall Annex, in which it describes in detail proposed changes to the project. It talks about plan modifications, it talks about condition modifications. Going back to the CMR, within 20 days, the board shall determine and notify the applicant whether it deems the proposed changes significant or not. If the board fails to notify the applicant by the end of such 20-day period, the comprehensive permit should be deemed to be modified to incorporate the changes. Per Mass General laws pertaining to open meeting laws, deliberation is any communication between board members in which you're deciding something that's within your jurisdiction. It does say, for example, deliberation does not include the distribution of meeting agenda, scheduling information, or disseminating reports or documents that may be discussed in a meeting, provided that no opinion of a member is expressed. So just the letter I sent on the 19th could have been distributed to all of you and should have been distributed to all of you, so long as there was no discussion amongst you about it, because for deliberation to happen, you need a meeting. A meeting is a deliberation by a public body with respect to any matter within the body's jurisdiction. And then give you some examples of what is not a meeting. This does not fit. So in order for the board, per the regulation, to make the determination of whether my request for changes was significant or not, the board by state law was required to convene a meeting, deliberate at the meeting, and render a decision on the significance and then notify the applicant. Instead, what happened is, and this is the timeline right there. Instead, what happened is my office received a letter from the city solicitor purportedly on behalf of the chairman of the board, stating that the board had made a determination. I looked into it and I noticed that no meeting had been held, that the board members had not in fact deliberated on the request, and no determination by the board could have possibly been made in any legal way because no meeting had been convened. So although there was a letter from the city solicitor in which perhaps the city solicitor and or the chairman personally believe the proposed changes are significant, this board never met. This board never made a determination, and this board never notified the applicant prior to December 9th, which was the end of the 20-day deadline. So from an operation of law standpoint, per the regulations, these modifications have become part of the comprehensive permit. Now, that being said, I want to give you just brief background as to the reason for the request. As you recall, the comprehensive permit had special conditions requiring cross easements with one of the neighbors. The neighbors and the applicant have been working for 2 years to try and get these cross easements fully negotiated and finalized. As of the 19th, when I sent that letter, construction was nearly complete on the building. Inspections were in coming weeks. At this point, I think all but Mr. Riccari's inspection have gone through, fire safety, electric, plumbing, that sort of thing, right? It's all done. And we frankly were unsure if we were going to get these lengthy negotiations done in time to satisfy the condition of having these cross easements in place. Filed that request. To the neighbors' credit, they have been resolved in really trying to get this over the finish line to satisfy these cross easements. I am genuinely hopeful. Attorney Serafini, who you hear from, he and I spoke for almost an hour today. I'm truly hopeful that we'll actually have these negotiations concluded by the end of the calendar year, in which case these easements that were part of the original permit would be executed. And so I am suggesting tonight that if the board wanted to grant a continuance on this issue, then my argument about whether or not this hearing is even properly before the board or whether the board failed to act in 20 days will become moot, because I'm representing to the board tonight that if these easements that we've been working on for 2+ years get signed, then the next thing you'll receive from me is going to be a request to rescind any request for modification and a request to revert back to the original comprehensive permit and plans as presented. Again, obviously, it's your discretion to grant a continuance or not, but I'm just trying to outline you why we've done what we've done, where we are in the process now, and if we just push this matter out into January, I suspect the next thing you'll hear from me is good news. We finished the easements, and we'd like to please go back to the original permit and the original plans. Thank you.
Okay, I would like council to respond
Yes.
and clarify.
Members of the board, Suzanne Egan, city attorney. So yeah, I think it's important for the board to understand the overall scheme of this. So in 2023, the board issued the comprehensive permit for this applicant. The project has been undergoing construction. The city has supported this project, provided approximately $400,000 for funding for this project. It has been, as I said, under construction in the interim. On November 9th, the applicant's attorney sent the letter to the chair requesting a modification of the conditions. Tonight, this board has looked at many requests for modification of previously issued permits. You're familiar with the application process. You're familiar with what is required to be submitted. As the applicant's attorney showed you tonight, he submitted merely a letter, which did not meet the requirements of the ZBA's rules of procedure for an application for a modification of a previously granted permit. In addition, there was no request for a board meeting. There was no ZBA meeting scheduled from November 9th until that 20-day period. Therefore, the board would not meet. It was known that the board would not meet within that 20-day period on a letter that was submitted. Instead, the board, as your representative, sent the letter stating this is a substantial modification. The board is going to hold a public hearing on this. On the 20th day of submitting that letter, the applicant's attorney sent the letter to the board saying, oh, by the way, a constructive grant has been issued, which is, first of all, incorrect legally and is a little bit of gamesmanship, which puts this board in an awkward position, whereas not submitting a full application and then turning around and saying, oh, a constructive grant has been submitted and I no longer need any relief from the board. So in light of the posture that the applicant is taking with the board, as opposed to filing a proper application and seeking the relief in pursuant to the board's rules, I would suggest that the board should not continue this without some agreement in writing from the applicant that there's been a waiver of any claim for a constructive grant on this, because otherwise I think the board is going to put itself in a legally, in a position where it's going to be defending, could potentially be defending an appeal of its insistence that the constructive waiver or constructive grant has not been given.
Thank you. Question?
Yes, I just want to go over some of what you said. Did you send a letter to the attorney stating that this was an improper application?
No, I did not. I sent a letter to them stating that the public hearing would be held on the 18th tonight to determine whether it was a substantial modification.
And when was that letter sent?
In the time.
Yeah,
Within the 20 days.
well before the 20-day time period, yes. And there was no response at that time. Typically, as you see from what you've done tonight, and this the board is pretty remarkable, the number of applications you've been through tonight and the number of different types of applications, and a number of them have been those requests for modifications. It's a clear process. As Kent was also shown tonight, Attorney Favaza is well aware of this process. He's been here all night. It's very familiar. This was not properly before the board at any time in compliance with its regulations. The board's rules are the process for the board with regard to whether or not it's a 40B application or a 40A application. Those are the procedural rules of the board that have to be followed. So that's my suggestion for the board tonight. And if you do not receive that waiver, I would suggest that you would want to review that to protect the board's interest. And it's not just the board's interest, but it's the city of Gloucester's interest and the neighbors' interest, which is what you reviewed in terms of issuing that comprehensive permit, is to go through that request as it is in its sort of unperfect way or imperfect way, and make a determination as to whether what is requested is a substantial modification. You don't have a site plan before you. You don't have any amended, any language for the amendment to the comprehensive permit. So you don't have any information, enough information to actually make any determination on this. But I think the board is been boxed into a corner where it has to take a vote on this matter.
I agree. And even tonight, in the opening presentation here, we did still not receive anything, no plans, no anything to further the application to even consider.
Exactly, and I did send a request either by mail or email to Attorney Favaza asking him to submit plans and supporting documentation for that modification, and the board has not received any.
So in terms of what you would recommend for a waiver, it seems that if we could get a statement signed that that letter of presumptive relief was sent in error, and acknowledging the letter that you sent saying when this would be heard, to wipe that letter off the map by his hand.
So I would suggest that the type of waiver that you would want is a waiver of the time restrictions for the request for the modification of a permit, and also some acknowledgement that a full application for the modification of the comprehensive permit will be submitted to the board.
Right. The applicant can apply repeatedly for modification. Sometimes projects go on for a while and there are supplemental requests for modifications. Maybe they find ledge or any number of things could happen where they would need to modify it. Modifications to a 40B typically have to be based on the what needs to be done, creating the project to be not feasible. That's the standard. And they have to prove that. And then you get into this, and we've had this before, where they have to hire legal accountants to say, prove it, and we have to hire outside counsel, financial counsel to disprove it, and it goes back and forth. That's the typical way to modify a 40B application, as we've seen in the past. So
And I can help clarify that. So the specific language of the statute is whether that the modification would render the project uneconomic. So that would be the applicant's position before the either the court or the Housing Appeals Committee, is to say the board didn't modify this condition, and this condition is therefore rendering this project uneconomic. And in this instance, this project has been funded substantially by the city of Gloucester. So it would be, that would be something that the board should consider, whether a modification of the permit, if the argument was made, would render the project uneconomic when there's that substantial funding from the city.
well, so it's a public hearing, so why don't we take testimony if anyone wishes to give any. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request for modification? Well, I don't even consider we have a real request for modification before us because it was incomplete. I mean, I received the letter, I read it. I said, sounds like a point of contention that was very much fought back and forth during the process and finally agreed to. And I says, but I don't have any drawings. I don't quite understand that. You know, I can read a plan about as good as anyone, but I can't read a letter that tells me exactly what the changes are engineering wise. And we didn't receive any of that. So it's a little hard to understand. And so he says, well, let's schedule a public hearing and give him the opportunity to present to us what he wants to do. And that, all that was forthcoming was a letter saying that it was approved constructively. So anyone want to speak in favor of the modification? Or, I guess we'll take testimony. Anyone? Yes. You're speaking in favor? You're speaking in favor?
Well, no, Mr. Chairman, I'm kind of in between. Basically, I had written a letter to you. Let me tell you
us.
who I am.
Yep.
I'm John Serafini. I represent the Works Realty Trust. I live at 26 Payne Avenue in Beverly. And I've been involved on behalf of the Works Trust throughout the process, as I'm sure you remember. And generally, I think the process has gone along quite well. And we're at a point where, you know, the building is in. Originally, the design under the permit was that there would be cross easements to address an issue of drainage as well as an issue of access. And there was a condition written right into the permit itself that required recorded easements on those subjects to be negotiated between the parties. In this case with, you know, Bill Wheat and with Ms. Works. And we are very far along on that process. And unfortunately, you've got this odd situation that has developed with a potential modification of the permit. And I don't really want to weigh in. I did write a letter to the board, which you have. I don't want to weigh on necessarily in the merits of whether that modification is correctly done and effective. Yeah, I just won't, I won't weigh in on that. But our position would be that we need to finish the cross easements in relation to the unmodified original plan, and that the original plan and the original permit that was granted in September of 23 has to remain in effect in order to enable those easements to be done. So we are on the work side are willing to see if we can complete the easement process, but it can only be in relation to an unmodified permit. And therefore, any purported rights that the permit has been modified, I think would have to be rescinded and renounced, and the original permit reinstated before we could get completely across the finish line. So we want to help, we want to see the project get born, but we want to make sure that it has the proper easements to stay closed, not become a problem for the city in future years. So I guess you'll have to wrestle with what your advice from council is, but that would be what the abutter would offer to you.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we'll close public testimony. I feel the best thing in the interest of the city, there's no reason this project shouldn't be completed the way it was intended, in good faith, through a long process. So I think I would think the board should reject the request for modification due to the fact that the request was not complete. We didn't have plans. We didn't have any of the normal things that would allow us to evaluate it. And as far as in the timeliness of it, we did respond in the time period. The board was not meeting in that time period. Could have met on Thanksgiving, but I didn't think it was the right thing to do. So I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, may I speak one more time, please?
I don't know.
I promise, keep it under a
You're gonna
minute.
say. Go ahead.
So what's come up tonight by both council and Mr. Chair, you just spoke about it, is whether or not this was correctly filed. And you've spoken, or I believe council spoke about the rules of procedure. And again, as I said at the beginning, we have to be very clear. We are not here under 40A. And if you look at the zoning board's rules of procedure, through which this argument about the application was incomplete is couched, the first line, pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, you promulgate these rules. Your rules of procedure are for 40A proceedings. You have no separate rules of procedure for 40B proceedings. But what you do have is a 2023 decision voted on and signed by the chair stating that for this 40B project, if you want to amend any portion of the project, you must do so in line with the 760 CMR. And 760 CMR only says the request must be in writing and describe the changes. There's no requirement for plans. There's no requirement for a form be filed. And that is the rule that you decided as a board when you wrote that condition in as to how this project could be modified.
Do you think that your letter has provided this board acting in good faith with enough to make a decision?
What I believe the letter does is it meets the requirement in that it describes the changes. Now, if the board
Doesn't describe the changes in any kind of detail for us to make any decision. It seems more like this is a notice given in a context in which you knew the schedule of our meetings. And it seems a little bit like you're trying to get a negotiating leverage for what you're trying to accomplish on the easements by a gotcha.
So with all due respect, and as Attorney Egan, I know knows because she educated me once on this and when I was a young lawyer, right? There was 20 days in which the board could have spelled, there are boards, the Conservation Commission does this from time to time, the licensing board does it all the time. Municipal boards call special meetings to deal. When I was on the school committee, our subcommittees and our full committee had special meetings all the time to deal with matters that would come up in between our regularly scheduled meetings that we were not going to otherwise be able to get to. Oh, we can't wait until the next school committee meeting to deal with this. We call a special meeting. That happens all over the city all the time to deal with filings that come in with deadlines that are before the regularly scheduled meetings. So that this board didn't schedule a special meeting, was the decision of whomever, but certainly wasn't of me. You had 20 days to do that. You didn't do it. This application, I admit, if you said, hey, listen, read your letter, we think we need more detail. So we've met as required by open meeting law, as required by the comprehensive permit, as required by the regs. We've met, we've determined this is a substantial change, and therefore we're going to hold a public hearing on December 18th. I would be here tonight with full sets of plans going through my normal slideshow. But the board did not meet, the board did not deliberate, and therefore it is legally impossible that the board made the determination that this was significant. And absent that determination by the board, you cannot hold a public hearing on it. The opportunity is lost. But again, as I said in the beginning, my point is if we just move this out to January, this can all become a moot point, provided that Attorney Serafini and I complete our work on this. The board wants to move forward tonight and take a vote saying you provide insufficient information. That is absolutely within your rights as a board holding a meeting. I'm just saying this public hearing isn't even properly before you because you failed the first step, which was to meet prior and notify me of a substantial change.
I want to call for a vote on the motion. Make a motion.
I move to deny the application on the basis the application is incomplete.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to deny the application for modification due to the application being incomplete. Roll call vote.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes.
A motion to adjourn.
I'll entertain that.
Second.
Made and seconded. Roll call to adjourn.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Norton,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes, we are officially adjourned. Merry Christmas to everybody. Enjoy your holidays. We'll see you in January.
Merry Christmas, Michael.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, everyone.